Hello there. Welcome to A Certain Point of View, and we're back. Hey, everybody. What's up?
So I was muted, but I said, hey.
Oh, I didn't hear you. Well,
You know, it's my job to
hey.
make this start off awkward. So there you go.
Dude, I only did the intro because y'all wanted me to. So I'm just like super chill
good
tonight.
Also, I worked really hard on that before you canceled the podcast. So.
I just want everyone to know I'm super chill tonight. I'm just chill. I'm not thinking about editing or anything like that. We're just hanging out. I'm excited about it. I really am.
I mean, you can still throw this on the podcast.
I probably will.
Live stream.
I probably will. Yeah, I probably will.
Please title it somehow the podcast returned. Please.
Yeah,
that's a requirement.
Well, except is that a little bit misleading? Because we're not.
Because,
I mean, it was in the movie
if we
too.
live stream, it's on the podcast. No, like, oh my.
And
This
we're
is how
off.
we're starting this off. Really?
Put parentheses, not really.
Oh, oh, hey, everybody! Jack is here. He says, "What's up, guys? I may be Facebook user tonight." And yes, you are. That's what it's called. That's what it says you are.
It's my favorite. Yes, we always have in the chat.
Just call it The Last Jedi. Wait, what are you talking about?
We didn't even make it 3 minutes.
I didn't even mention it till he said it. I mean, it's really Jack's fault.
Agreed.
Guys, it's been like 6 months since we did a live stream. I'm really excited about it. I've been really looking forward to this. How has everybody been doing individually, group wise, whatever, all that stuff? It's been a while. So we've had several holidays, lots of Star Wars news, a couple of shows even. So I guess let's just go around. Curry, how about you, man? Let's go you first.
The last 6 months, it's been good. Staying busy. I changed jobs at the same company, which is going great. It's been spicing up my YouTube channel. Had something take off, but that video, it's got me a lot of subscribers, so that's pretty cool.
How many? Plug it right here. Go.
Yes, please follow me or subscribe on YouTube at Curnator Productions for movie reviews, occasional fan edits, and some other fun stuff I have planned. And my motto is always look for the good. We try to be positive, which I get from this podcast somewhat, because we were always looking for the good.
Always, and most of the time.
I mean no shade by that. Actually, no, I mean all of the shade by that.
Curry, you should change your name to your YouTube.
Oh, yes.
Should have done that to begin with, man.
You're right.
Don't mind if I do.
I never, ever got Twitter. So that's why I have my handle.
Yeah, I deleted the app. I couldn't anymore.
Yeah, I don't blame you.
Star Wars
guys,
fans were bothering me.
Jess, how are you doing? How's everything been in this past 6 months for you? You doing good?
Good. Wrapped another season of the show.
Oh, yeah.
Nice.
It's airing now, even though we just wrapped it. Fixer to Fabulous on HGTV.
And what do you do on that show again? Tell everybody in case they don't know.
So I guess my actual title is I'm a PA, so I'm a production assistant for specifically for the design team. So I help with staging the houses for reveals. So
That's awesome.
Yeah. Did that, and then this is mental health shout out. Woohoo!
All right.
So
let's go.
I have struggled for years, like since I was like 18, with like depression and anxiety and different things like that. So anybody watching this, you're not alone. Like if you ever want to talk about anything, I'm here. I know everybody else is like super supportive in this podcast and is here as well. But I was missed. My diagnosis was missed. And I actually have ADHD, and that is what was causing my depression and my anxiety. So don't ever forget or stop advocating for yourself. So if something doesn't seem right, make sure you're advocating for yourself with your doctors. Try a different one if you need to, because it's kind of nice to find the root cause of things, and learn that I just have a neurotypical brain and that it just works differently. And so so many like issues I've had in life are so explained by it, and now I get to work on improving those with the knowledge that I have. So anyway, that has happened in
awesome.
the last 6 months. So just wanted to encourage everybody not to give up and to continue to research and advocate for yourself, because it is very important.
That's amazing. Oh my gosh. I can't even like, I know, I'm sure this has to happen fairly frequently, but just the idea of doctors misdiagnosing something is so scary.
Well,
myself,
so
actually.
it's very common, I guess, with women. Women aren't typically getting diagnosed with ADHD until 30s or 40s, because it looks different in most women than men. And so I think maybe it's like not as hyperactive looking, you know, it's a little more internal. And so it gets missed, and then kind of the residual issues from it are kind of what show up because you're so good at masking the like ADHD part, I guess.
Yeah.
That the other stuff kind of comes out. So anyway, I've been reading so many things, listening to podcasts. I've had a therapist for a while, but just want to remind everybody to take care of themselves, and I don't know, just don't be afraid to get diagnosed with something, because it doesn't define you. It just gives you some extra tools to kind of help live your life in the best way. That's
awesome. Great advice from Jess. And congratulations on the correct diagnosis. Seriously. Oh my God. Some things you just take for granted, right?
Yeah. So anyway, it's been a cool learning journey. So, but yeah, that's about wrapping the show. And then that has been most of my stuff. So,
well, great. Drew, taking a sip of water. How about you, man? What's been going on?
Hey, just a lot. Staying really busy. Our work season ended in November, so it's that time of year where we're at home working on lots of projects and resting every minute we can before we go back out for another work season. So been doing a lot of painting on equipment, a lot of work around the house, little project here and there, and what else? Oh, the YouTube channel also is going well. I've not seen the explosion in subs that Curry has, but it's awesome watching him go at the same time. So we both got some good things going on YouTube, just having a lot of fun with that. And
plug it.
So we are Monster Island Lore Seeker. That's part of the Lore Seeker brand, is what I'm calling it, on YouTube. And my specific
you're Lore Seeker, right?
No, that's a friend of mine. I'm just one of the I'm the Godzilla aspect of Lore Seeker. So Lore Seeker's a friend of mine. He does Star Wars, military history, Lord of the Rings, video games, like Halo stuff. And then I was joking with him one day, and I said, hey, I'll do a Godzilla channel, just joking with him one day. And he calls me like 2 weeks later, and he's like, all right, so what do you want the name of the channel to be? I was like, oh, I was joking. He's like, well, I'm not. We're making it. And so part of the Lore Seeker like group of channels on YouTube is now Godzilla, so we call ourselves Monster Island Lore Seeker. We just hit the 1,000 sub mark last month, and we're growing and just having a lot of fun doing that. So the channel is definitely gonna get some action this year because we have like new Godzilla movies and content coming out.
Oh yeah, that's right. Maybe I'll maybe Curry, maybe I'll do it. Maybe I'll finally watch King of the Monsters like you want me to.
Finally watch the best one.
Maybe I will. Maybe I will. We'll see.
Hey Drew, by the way, you're henceforth known as Lorezilla, by the way.
Oh, I like that.
I like that too.
That's great.
I like that too.
Drew, and I know you're not Lore Seeker because we actually finally had Lore Seeker on the show, so I saw that he's a different person. So that joke is done, unfortunately.
I was on an episode.
There's some deep fake out there. It's pretty good.
There is.
I just want to point out that that was one of my favorite episodes because Lore Seeker gave me one of the best compliments I've ever given, and I just want to rub it in Michael's face.
Oh no, what is it? I can't remember.
It was just I had an idea for something they should have done in a show or something, whatever we were talking about, and he said, "Dude, Lucasfilm should hire you as a writer," and I was like, "I've made it. I've made it."
I think that if they did that, it would be a disaster. I'm just kidding. I'm
not Lamont, okay,
guys. Honestly, no, you're you're not though. No, Curry and I have had a lot of fun debates over the past 6 months about Star Wars.
Over the past 6 months, you mean the past like 3 years?
Right, but just in the past even just in the past 6 months, we've had many notable ones.
Yes, we have.
And of course, Josh and I are on the same side usually. Anyway, Josh, and by the way, Josh may or may not be joining us later. He had something unexpected come up, so hopefully he gets to pop in, even if it's just for a few minutes. But
needs to get his priorities straight, man.
I know, man. I know. Gosh, come on. But yeah, for me, it's been a great, crazy, honestly, really crazy 6 months. We've Jack says false. Josh doesn't agree with you. He does though. Except for when we talk about Warner Brothers, and then he doesn't. Yeah, we're not doing that. But yeah, anyway, this past 6 months has been really good for me. Really good, but really, really busy. My wife and I bought a house. I'm sure, I don't know, whoever, who's watching, and if you remember the room I used to be in, this is a different room. And so, yeah, this is my new studio in my new house my wife and I just bought. And our son is growing. He's over a year, and he's like over a year and 2 months now, which is absolutely insane. I can't even, he's running, and it's nuts. It's just crazy. But we've had all sorts of stuff going on. It's honestly been a super busy season for us, but very thankful that things are settling down just a little bit, and we can at least do this fun hangout. And we're going to try to do these more often too, for sure. At the very least, just hang out and talk some Star Wars. Because guys, this is a big year. We got a lot of Star Wars happening this year, and I have to talk to somebody. we have to talk about, air this stuff out there eventually. So so speaking of all that, just since we recorded last, we had an entire show happen, and the only one that hasn't seen the show yet, Josh, isn't here, so we should talk about it. Guys, Josh is so behind that he hasn't seen any Andor, which is just crazy. I can't believe it, but I can though.
Michael, you forgot to plug your Twitter. Oh yeah,
sorry. It is our Twitter. Oh, look at you going with that banner. Oh my goodness. I'm too unprofessional. I can't even just keep going. So we are our Twitter, and I just run the account. Is our no, I'm not saying that. Is at certain_POV. Actually, it's different now. It's at ACPOV crew. We changed it to where everything's the same. So I'm sorry, Curry, you actually did mess that up.
Actually, it was already in there, so whoever typed it first messed it up.
Okay.
What is it actually now?
At ACPOV crew. Yeah, it's in my handle there, down there. So yeah, go follow us. I've been super active over there, even though we haven't been recording podcasts. I've been on Twitter, and it's growing like crazy. I think we're actually over 850 followers now, so that's cool. So that's fun. And
I endorse everything Michael says about Star Wars, just so you know. Yeah,
let's make that known. The account is my thoughts. Definitely, Curry does not co-sign everything I tweet.
I just get on there and like all the people that are arguing with him.
You literally did that this the other day.
I did. There was a couple of people I was like, yeah, I agree with them. Sorry.
Some burners going on.
Actually, what happened truly was I just read it, and then read a response, was like, oh, I agree with that. And then I noticed it was yours, and I was like, well, now I'm just going to like more.
Why am I not surprised? Oh my gosh. Oh, and then Jack says, I mean, we knew Josh wouldn't have watched it. Josh actually will watch it. He intends to watch it. And this show Andor is so up Josh's alley. I cannot wait for him to finally watch it.
Do I need to fly out there again and make him watch it?
Yes, I think that's necessary. Come on out.
That's what we did for Zack Snyder's Justice League. It took him a year, but when I flew out, I made him start it.
He finally did start it and only started it. You did not finish it while you were there, right? Am I correct?
No, but they finished it that week together.
Yeah.
Him and his wife. So, hey, I'll take it.
And Jack says he intended to watch the Clone Wars too. Yeah, but he actually did watch some of that, like a season or something. He did not watch very much. He was watching some of it with his show or with his son. But yeah, anyway, yeah, Josh is way behind, but you know what? I imagine 4 kids is tough. So don't even want to pretend to imagine.
That's over 2 years old. Like I can't imagine having that with 4. So
I mean, I had 1 and I had to cancel a podcast. So
don't remind us, Michael. We know.
Hey, shut up. No, guys, for real though, let's talk since we've all 4 seen it, and Josh isn't here, and so we don't have to worry about spoiling. Let's just get started talking about some Star Wars stuff, because that's what I miss. Like we've been hanging out anyway in the Facebook chat and all that stuff for a while, but I really want to talk some Star Wars with you guys. So let's start talking some Andor. So just generally speaking, and we can talk spoilers and stuff too. But I just want to say first, I'll just start with this. Andor to me, and if you do follow the Twitter account, you know how much I love the show. Andor to me is the best thing that Star Wars has done in a very long time. And honestly, it's not even me just being like, oh, come on, if only everything was as good as Andor. It's not that. I love Andor and I love The Mandalorian and I love The Bad Batch and I love the different flavors of Star Wars. But if there was a show that if they were to just be like, okay, let's make a show that's right up Michael's alley in every way, it was Andor. And yes, I do miss like the Jedi stuff in Star Wars. That stuff I miss for sure. I will always miss it if it's not there. But I also have always been craving a awesome rebellion versus the Empire, boots on the ground, really a kind of more serious take on Star Wars and the rebellion, the Empire and all that. And I didn't realize how much Andor was going to give me that. And I got to say, like, of all the shows that were announced, a couple of years ago when we got the announcement about we got the announcement of the Ahsoka show. We got the announcement of all of these different things we're getting now. Obi-Wan and all that. We got the announcement of Andor. And at the time I was just like, all right, that's fine. I'm sure that'll be cool or whatever. And then the more and more that I started seeing from it, the more I got excited. And when I finally watched every show, every episode, I just found sorry. This is my life. I love it.
That's amazing. I love
it. Hello. Kanan says hi. Kanan says hi. Look at that boy.
Hi.
He's blowing kisses to everybody. Love you, Bubba. All right. Anyway, sorry. Anyway, all I was saying was every episode I was on the edge of my seat and there wasn't even like a ton of action. It was like dialogue and all of this. And it was the best written dialogue that I've seen in a Star Wars since The Last Jedi. Take a drink. And honestly, it was just, the writing was incredible. And it was so like just gripping, the drama, that prison arc. One Way Out. That show just had me so just invested on every level. And each of these arcs that we had was we would be introduced to these different little characters that I grew invested in. And that doesn't always happen in these shows. And I don't know, this Andor was just I expected it to be good. I did not expect it to be like a masterpiece. And honestly, I feel like it was, and I'm not just throwing that word around. So bravo to Tony Gilroy and everyone involved with that show. For me, it was just, I can't believe that we got that and it was in Star Wars. So anyone who has to talk, what did y'all think about, Andor? Anyone?
I'll go because everyone's muted. I guess that was the sign that it's Drew's turn to talk. Andor was very good. It didn't land at masterpiece for me, only because I wanted more boots on the ground. But it was so incredible. And to agree with Michael, the dialogue is what made part of what made this show so good. The dialogue. I mean, the Luthen speech about, what have I sacrificed? That one just
everything.
I rewound it, watched that like 4 or 5 times, honestly.
Best monologue in Star Wars, probably.
It was masterful. The dialogue, the writing, pardon me, I didn't want to take time to mute before I coughed there. It was very, very good. I wanted some more boots on the ground a little bit. And I know that if there's a season 2 that could happen. But my favorite, episode piece was episode arc, not piece, was the heist. And I was like, man, maybe there's gonna be another heist. And then it turned into the prison thing. And the prison thing was incredible. 3 of the actors and actresses stole the show for me, even over Diego Luna's Andor character. And that would be Luthen, Andy Serkis's character, and the names are just really drawing a blank for me right now because I've not rewatched anything. And the female ISB officer. I nearly said IBS. That is totally not the same thing here. But the female ISB officer really was, just wow. It's like, okay, here's
Deidre.
a person. Oh, Deidre, yeah. We're like, oh, we're halfway sympathetic to her. Oh, except really not, because she's a mean fascist lady that wants to, shoot people and be mean. And Ferrex was a really interesting. Sorry, I gotta mute and cough my head off real quick.
That's okay. Kanan's got you.
It's all back there for me now. Hi, Kanan. It was very good. Like I said, it didn't land at masterpiece for me, but was it very, very great, incredible, at or above the same level of everything else that's came out lately for me? Yeah, absolutely. I think The Mandalorian is still probably my favorite that's come out, but Michael also knows that I was like the biggest fan of the Book of Boba Fett compared to him. But Andor was so good, and I came to appreciate Michael's whole catchphrase was it was a slow burn, and I didn't love it at first, but at the end of the season, I was like, I wouldn't have had the season really gone through any other way. Like, it worked out so perfectly start to end. But I do believe that, and this is no disrespect to Diego Luna's performance as Cassian Andor, because it was incredible, but Luthen, Andy Serkis really, really stole the show. Beyond just like, I was like, wow, they really blew me. I was like, okay, Andy Serkis, he'll be here. He'll be in and out in 2 episodes. And it was like, wow, he was like a massive focal point of the entire season. So I really enjoyed that. Dude,
I get it. It's like it was a kind of a slow burning. I think Curry, when he says his thoughts, I know it started a little slow for him too. But for me, y'all know me. If it's intriguing dialogue, if it's good dialogue and character work, I'm in for a super slow burn. I love Lincoln, and that movie's a masterpiece to me, and it's nothing but slow dialogue. So I think to me, the show had me from episode 1, but once episode 3 happened, it had me like, what am I watching right now? And so and then we had the arc with the Eye of Aldani, and I mean, it's our background right now. You can see it barely around the edges, but like, it is that the visuals and that story. I couldn't imagine what we were going to get next. And honestly, I have a hard time thinking about a Star Wars story that had me more invested and more on the edge of my seat. And honestly, it was an emotional journey for me too. That whole prison arc where he was in prison with Kino Loy. That's Andy Serkis's character. How they built that character to go to help along Cassian in his journey. But I'll never forget the way I felt. And this is a testament to the dialogue in the show. I'll never forget how I felt when, they spent the whole episode where Cassian was like, come on, how many guys upstairs? How many guards are upstairs? Come on, help. We got to help each other out. And Kino was just not having it. And he kept shutting him down because he's just trying to keep quiet and lay low and do his job, and then get out when the Empire finally releases him, as long as he is on his best behavior. And he's not trying to ruin that. He's getting closer to it. And so finally, everything that happens with the old man, and he dies, and we hear about what happened on that floor. I can't remember what floor it was, but we hear about the fourth floor. Yeah. Anyway,
maybe the 12th. I don't remember.
No, it's not. I don't think it's 12 but that number is involved. But basically, we hear about what happens on that floor, and it's like, oh, we're not leaving. The Empire is not letting us go, and this is far worse than I thought. And we see that character development through that episode, to the point where Cassian finally asked him at the end of the episode, "So how many guards?" And he says, "Never more than 12." Letting us know that he's in now. And it was I just got chills thinking about how I felt at that moment, when I can't remember a time where I've wanted to like jump up and go, yes, like more than I did in that moment. And it was like at 2:00 in the morning that I was watching that episode. And I don't know, that the whole show had moments like that, where yes, the monologue with Luthen, and there was another monologue I'm forgetting. I think Kino had one. One Way Out. That whole monologue was incredible. And then Marva's whole speech, incredible stuff,
dude. Yes.
So good. Anyway, all that to say,
it was like Padme's Senate speech all over again.
Yeah, that impactful. It just on a lower, like a little smaller scale. But it felt equally huge,
Mm-hmm.
It felt equally huge for the rebellion. Jess, what did you think of the show? We haven't talked in depth about it, really.
I really enjoyed it. It did start off kind of slow, but I feel like I kind of expected that, just kind of, I don't know, how Rogue One was. But I knew I would like it because I liked Rogue One, and I loved the style and how it was shot and all of that kind of stuff, and kind of the different level of people, like how we're talking about. Like, it focuses so much kind of on key players or Force users, and this kind of like brings it down to, the people who are doing, the hand-to-hand type more. I mean, lightsabers is clearly hand-to-hand combat, but you know what I mean? Like the battles of kind of like the Clone Wars did with the troops, the clone troops. We kind of got to see more of what it looked like to everyday life and the people and different things like that. And so I really enjoyed that as well. One of the things that it made me think about, and this isn't really necessarily Star Wars related, but with actors, is the fact that Andy Serkis, I mean, think about the first time you knew who he was. For me, that was Lord of the Rings. And he was doing motion caption voices, and that's what he's done for years, and probably, I don't know, I mean, maybe he believed in himself, but, it didn't seem like he was being cast for any main roles or anything where it was actually him. And, the fact that someone at the age that he is, not that that's like a bad thing, but like in Hollywood, has kind of become this like amazing standout actor, that's in some of the biggest franchises, is like super inspiring. I don't know. Like, that's one of the things that I thought about watching him with his speech and him being in it, I was just like, wow, how crazy would it be to think maybe this career, motion capture or voice, not that that's anything beneath. I think no matter how you know, contribute to art, I think it's all just as important. But I just, there is something a little different about, being on the big screen in a sense, and I think that's so cool. And that really shows kind of the power of like never giving up,
Mhm.
I know that's like outside of Andor in the story, but
Sure.
I just kept thinking about that every time he was on there and he would just give these like incredible lines and, just he's so phenomenal and just like, I don't know, that just is really cool to me. But I love Mon Mothma, so anything with like her in it is just incredible. Like I love the whole, she's moving money around and she's trying to, give money to the rebellion without getting caught and still be in the Senate. And like she's in this spot and, all the dynamics of that and how it's like, okay, we kind of saw it with like Saw Gerrera a little bit in Rogue One. Like there's different ways to fight and like where is your line for the cause. And so I found that really interesting throughout Andor, kind of seeing people being tested as what do you believe is right and what do you believe you can sacrifice for that end goal. And so I love things that kind of make you think like, what would I do in that situation, and considering none of us have the force, it was kind of cool to see people with like the abilities that we have, being put in those situations and how they handled it. Another thing I want to say is like the cinematography and the costumes were incredible.
Yep.
Some of my favorite costume work probably since one of my favorites has always been the Phantom Menace. Like that's just been the costumes with like all the handmaidens and on Naboo and just all the different things were just so incredible to me. And I just think that this is like that person who did that, like just went all out and put their soul into it. And you can just tell, like, you could tell when they were on, different planets based off of the style of how people were dressing. And even just the aesthetic of the different rooms and buildings or cities or locations, like it felt very kind of how they did that. But on a smaller level, instead of huge different worlds and things like that, like they did in the prequels, I feel like it was done like well in this show. And I really, really enjoyed that too. So it's not my favorite because I am more emotionally gonna pick my favorites over that. But as far as like well done overall, as far as like a critic looking at it, I think Andor and The Mandalorian have been some of the most solid all around Star Wars projects as far as like TV that's definitely come out.
Yeah,
So.
I totally agree. I mean, I mostly agree. Andor is my favorite show, but The Mandalorian, it's so good. They're so different, right? It's like I love so much. Like I think I might have tweeted this, or I was just telling someone, but I love so much that we just got this super serious 12 episode, really serious, gritty, sometimes depressing, really intense Star Wars show that is so well done. And now we get to go into the Bad Batch and the Mandalorian and just like have a ball. You know what I mean? Just like have so much fun on a Star Wars adventure, like these mission of the week type things. That's, to me, I love both of those so much, and it doesn't have to be one or the other. And so I just love so much that we get both of those in the same universe. And to kind of just, before we go to Curry, go back to what you were saying about everything. I love everything you were saying, but specifically, I just want to give a shout out to Genevieve. Was it Genevieve O'Reilly, who played Mon Mothma? Who'd have like? I didn't know. I didn't know she was that good. Like we've really only. I don't know her as an actress other than was she even technically in the movie in Revenge of the Sith, or was it just in?
She's in Revenge of the Sith too.
Just barely, right?
It's like a cameo. Yeah.
Like basically just she's there. She's not. We don't get to see her really act all that much, right? I had no idea. She's incredible. Just what she had to do in her scenes with her trashy, terrible husband, and like just the seeing her fight on that side of things, and I loved the juxtaposition of her and Saw Gerrera starting, or her and Luthen really starting here, and then I think next season we're going to start seeing more of her and Saw Gerrera at odds, because we see that not only in Rogue One, but you also see it in Rebels. You see it in Rebels very heavily. And yeah, go ahead.
I got excited. All the Easter eggs in Luthen's shop.
How did you know what I was about to bring up?
Yeah. And that's stuff that I didn't even catch until, you go on YouTube and you watch videos or whatever. But what's funny is if you listen to Tony Gilroy talk about it, he was like, yeah, that wasn't me. We just gave it to Lucasfilm and said, put stuff in here. And they had fun with it. So like Tony Gilroy is so funny because he's very particular as a writer, but then he's also like, yeah, but put a bunch of stuff in here that fans are going to like. I don't know what that is, but here, you tell me. Like, I love that. That's great.
It's
Curry,
so important to know how to delegate things like that.
Yeah. And he did a great job with it. He did a great job. There was anytime there was a cameo from someone we'd seen before, like Saw Gerrera, or I feel like there was a couple more that I'm missing, but there were a couple of little cameos. It was always for dramatic weight, dramatic purpose, and it never felt like, oh, that's that guy from that thing, that's so cool, and then it was just like that's all it was for. It was always so intentional, and it was always for dramatic weight. He's a very intentional showrunner and writer. And so when we saw stuff like what's in Luthen's shop, and whenever we had a Saw Gerrera, or we had a Admiral, what's the Admiral? He showed up in one episode.
Lauren.
We saw his Admiral Yularen. Admiral Yularen. We saw him for an episode. It wasn't even like a lot of attention called to it, but that was definitely him. It was just really cool. It's like, yes, we didn't get like every week a cameo or whatever, but every time we got one, it really meant something. I really appreciate it. But Curry, your thoughts on the show?
Speaking of General Yularen, that cameo made me sad. Like, it was great to see him, but I'm like, he was actually a really good guy in Clone Wars, and to know he's so high up in such an evil empire is like,
yeah,
dude, like how the mighty have fallen. I
you
actually
saw him in Rebels as well.
Oh, see, I don't remember that.
He was hunting down. He was involved when Thrawn knew someone inside was helping out the rebellion, and eventually they found out that it was Callus. Yularen was part of that investigation, and they kind of go into
I completely missed that. Okay, that's cool. I just didn't remember. Yeah, so that's actually a good segue, because I like to mention the transitions. Sorry. Rebels Rebels was like our other deep dive into the rebellion, right? Like, yeah. In terms of like what we have. And Rebels had great conflict, don't get me wrong, but Rebels still kind of, for the most part, being a more kids-oriented, was very black and white, like in how it presented the rebellion. Rogue One was really the first time that we saw how dark the rebellion could be, like in the beginning when Andor kills that guy who gave him information. Ooh. And I remember in the theater being like, oh, wow, that adds some depth to the rebellion. I don't know if I like it, but then I was like, no, I love it. But I remember others expressing like, no, the rebellion is supposed to stand for good and be like anti this and that and this and that. I'm like, I see what you're saying. It may not be classical Star Wars in that sense, but it adds so much dimension to the story, and it adds that layer thematically of don't become what you're fighting. And then they tie it in even further with Luthen's monologue about what he's sacrificing and how he's becoming the evil to stop the evil so other people don't have to. Like, I just thought that was genius. So the show overall, from that, it is some of the best Star Wars ever made, hands down.
Yep.
Particularly from a production standpoint, I think it is the best, probably the best shot and written Star Wars ever. Honestly, I'm comfortable saying that. The cinematography and everything, the maturity on display, the visual effects, just the acting, amazing. And thematically, I remember Michael talking to you after the season 1 finale, and you find out the stuff that they've been building in the prison. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert. I think we've already talked about that. But
yeah, we already said spoilers.
Okay. The things that they've been building in the prison is it's going toward the Death Star. They're building the Death Star for them, which, one, from a world building perspective, I love that it's like, oh, they're using slaves to build it. Because everybody, not
brilliant.
Everybody, certain fans that I've been around are like, how could they ever build something like the Death Star? That makes no sense. And I'm like, one, don't ask those questions. But two, now we know. Like, it's cool.
It's cool when someone does answer one of those questions that are, it's a silly question to have, but yeah.
I didn't need to know that, but I like that I know that.
Totally.
And so, but we were talking, and I sent you a text, and I said, thematically, that after credit scene is so much more than you think, because Andor helped build the Death Star as a non-committed rebel, and then helps destroy the Death Star as a committed rebel. But also, the thing that he helped build and destroy also destroys him, and he helped build it. And I'm like, the tragic irony of that is beautiful. So
so good, man.
There's so much richness, and like when the show stepped it up for the action, it took your breath away. Like, I think particularly the one that Haley and I remember, my wife, was when Luthen does that dogfight in space when the Empire tries to stop him from going. I'm like, out of nowhere, that scene was just incredible, right?
Yeah.
So good. And I'm also like, why have we never seen that ship again in Star Wars?
Space laser swords.
I need it again. And why is that not a Jedi weapon? Like, if they ever do like another Jedi movie in the future, that should absolutely be like a force sensitive ship, because they could do amazing things.
Yeah.
So needless to say, I love the show. It's probably not my favorite because, unfortunately, I do think it has pretty severe pacing issues. And Michael used to make fun of me for having that complaint a lot. But Andor, and I want to make a point too. Just yesterday, I was at church, and two guys, they love to ask me like what I think about shows and stuff. And they were like, "Did you ever watch Andor?" And I was like, "Oh, I loved it. What did you guys think?" And they were like, "It was good. It was really slow though. It took a long time to get going." And I was like, you guys are like the 10th person to tell me that. Like, anytime I ask like a very casual fan of Star Wars, like, what did you think? Oh, it was slow. And I don't think that, like, why do they think that? So I really wanted to think about it, other than the fact of like, oh, the first 3 episodes obviously were like, they felt like a movie trimmed up into 3 segments. And Michael, I think we've talked about this before. I kind of wish Disney Plus wasn't scared of showing like long pilots outside of the Bad Batch. The Bad Batch had a 75-minute first episode. The Last of Us.
I agree with you out here.
The Last of Us, which premiered last week, had an 80-minute pilot, and it was all the better for it. If it had just ended at the 40-minute mark, people would have said the same thing about Andor, because it's very slow at the beginning. To me, on that one in a good way, but I'm a huge fan of the game as well. But those first 3 dragged, and like not the third one so much, but they released them all at once for that reason, because I think people knew.
Yeah. So if you're gonna do that anyway,
why not just make it 1 episode?
Yeah,
because
I agree with you.
If that had been trimmed a little bit and released as like a 75-minute one, I think people would have felt differently. But I also feel like it's not the only arc that does that. I personally think that instead of being 12 episodes, the show could have been like 9 episods.
Specifically, I totally disagree. Oh my goodness.
Specifically, but I'm not saying remove content. I'm saying condense a little bit and just have longer episodes, because, and I know you'll disagree with this because of what we said about the first arc, but also in the Aldani arc and the prison arc, there's always 1 episode where it's not that nothing happens. It's character development. It's world building. but there is so much of it and nothing else. I can see why people are like, oh, I'll just wait 3 episodes and binge Andor. There's no need to watch it week to week. And if people feel that way constantly, your general audience feels that way. General audiences can be wrong. But I'm just saying, like, I think there is a pacing problem there. So had they condensed and made them a little bit longer or found a way to structure the show differently, I think it would have been received better in that regard. But that being said, I think it is a testament to the quality of the show that with as slow as a lot of people found it, it still got the raving reviews that it did because of the strength of its storytelling. That's just kind of my biggest thing is I think they could have shortened it to 9 episodes and really condensed some of those into 2. Like those ones that took 3 episodes could have been done at 2, which ironically was always a problem with Clone Wars. Clone Wars always took 4 episodes with what they could have done in 3.
I agree with you on the Clone Wars. Yeah.
But I'm also not mad at it because the show still took its time to do what it wanted. It was just a little indulgent in that regard, in my opinion.
Yeah, and I think for me, I love so much that we finally got this show. And again, I don't want to ever, like, when I'm praising something, I don't want to take away from other things. But on one hand, I love that the writers had, for me personally, I love that the writers did have, they had respect for, like, they did not talk down to the audience. They did not, they assumed the audience that was watching was smart and they trusted them to follow the breadcrumbs because they weren't just exposition, like dumping everything, because a lot of Star Wars, as much as I love it, does, they exposition dump a lot of stuff, whether it's in, and they find great creative ways to do it in a rebellion conference room, or, they have all sorts of ways to do it. And that's great. But this did not really do that. This was just, every arc was a slow, they were slow burn arcs.
Yeah.
But I love that so much because every time we got to the end of an arc, it felt so satisfying. And I don't think it would have felt as satisfying had we not had the buildup we had. And so that's, for me, the Eye of Aldani. We needed all of those conversations that were happening in those fields. And like, we needed all of that. We needed all, and I know you didn't take away anything of the character development and all that, but like, think about how much we grew to love Nemec and like how heartbreaking it was when he died at the end of that arc. And and eventually how effective his words would be to Cassian, like so powerful. And I don't think it would have felt as powerful had we cut those short, And
it's like, and if you really pressed me on this opinion, you're like, well, what would you cut out? I can't answer that. I can't answer that on the first 3. I think there's a lot of scenes that could have been cut that are there for, like, I see what they're doing. But like with the other 2 arcs, not as much. But it's one of those things where, like, if you guys ever watched the TV show Sherlock, it's like 4 seasons. There's always 3 episodes, and they're all 90 minutes, like minimum. Yeah. And I think this show would have benefited from that format.
That could have been cool.
Honestly, it was already movie quality. So imagine if you like got on every week and it was. Now I do want to note, after the prison arc, I didn't feel that way again. I didn't feel like the pacing was off at all.
Yeah.
But I also agree with you. I remember telling Haley, like, this show is slow, because she would kind of complain about it too. And then we get to like the 3rd episode in the arc, and we're like, oh gosh, that was worth it. But it's sometimes it's the editing. It's not so much the editing within the episode itself as it is the structure of the show. But that being said, at this point, I'm so glad we have it, and then rather we didn't. But it does lead into a concern I have for season 2. And I'm going to go ahead and go into this because I can't stay too much longer.
Okay.
But for season 2, like season 1, it's covered 1 year, right? They've been pretty open about that. And season 2 is going to cover 4 years, I believe it is.
Yeah.
Each arc's going to be a year.
Yeah.
I'm concerned that they were so deliberate about the slow burn pacing of the first season that the second season, I'm worried they're going to try to cover too much ground in 3 episodes. So I kind of wish it was either parsed out a little bit further, or they had really taken advantage of those 12 episodes and like done like bigger episodes and then like made the 12 cover more time. I had a friend text me. He just watched it. He just finished it. He's like, really? That's where they ended it? And I'm like, come on, man. They're showing like how he got to where he's so committed in Rogue One, right? Like you've got it. Like it's there 100%. But at the same time, I'm also like, they got a lot more ground to cover.
Yeah.
We'll
I
see.
think for me, and this is honestly my I understand 100% what you're saying. That makes a ton of sense. And honestly, I'd be lying if I said I didn't have somewhat the same concern. My thing is the writers, the fact that from the beginning we have seen was their clear plan. They're going to do this season in 1 year and then the next season in 4 years, and seeing the execution of this season. I guess at this point they've just earned my trust. You know what I mean? Like at this point, they did something I did not think that I could care that much about these characters that I had never met before. And there's several of them in 3-episode arcs that we got to know, and it was only for those arcs, and I miss them. Like I miss Kino Loy, I miss Nemec, I miss all the minor characters that we did maybe see more on Ferrix. Like they did so much there in this show, and they showed so much about how, by the way, I don't even think I mentioned earlier how bad the Empire really is, like how deeply horrible they really, really are, and the inner workings of the ISB, and it's so the intricate, detailed way that they went about season 1. I guess I just trust them. You know, the writers that they have for this show are some of the best writers / showrunners in television.
Yep.
And so I don't know. I just trust them, to be honest with you, at this point. So I get it though.
And that's fair.
Yeah.
And I think because too, we know Gilroy has said like it's gonna come out and lead right into Rogue One.
Yeah.
I also wish we could get more seasons or a spinoff about the other characters from Rogue One we don't know as much. Like one complaint that I don't necessarily have about Rogue One, but I've heard it said a lot, is that we don't get to know the characters enough for the sacrifice they hit as hard as that it should. I disagree, but I see what they're saying.
Totally.
So like imagine if they get Donnie Yen and what's his name to show up and they get like a background. Or
what's the pilot's name? The pilot, the defective
Bodhi.
pilot.
Bodhi.
I love him. I hope I would love to see him in season 2.
Yeah, and like,
awesome.
And I think they could do it in a way to where like this show proved it may be called Andor, which I feel like they could have called it. Honestly, if Rebels didn't exist, they could have called it Rebels.
They could, yeah, totally. Yeah.
Like it didn't need to be called Andor, and actually, that really made Star Trek fans mad because Andor is a very popular planet in Star Trek, and the Andorians are a race, and they were like, "Really, what the heck?" But I think there is room.
It's just
and the
Star
show
Trek.
has proven they can cut to multiple storylines with characters that don't intersect. So they could bring in those other characters to give them more background to make Rogue One hit.
It could be cool.
Because this was a show that when they announced it, I was like, "Oh, cool! I don't need this," but now I'm like, "Oh, I want more."
Yeah,
and there's so much they can flesh out, not just for Rogue One, but for that time in general. I'm excited to see what they do because I want to know where. Oh gosh, what's his name? The really obsessed guy from the show.
Oh my gosh!
Stage 5 Klinger.
Yeah. Oh my.
The guy who I kept telling y'all looks like Josh. He reminds me of Josh so much. Every time we would like pause it because Samuel was doing something crazy or whatever, my son, I would say Josh Mesker, and Haley would bust out laughing every time. And I totally mean that as a compliment because I thought his character was fascinating.
Cyril,
that's right.
So,
Cyril eats cereal. That was the joke. He's always eating cereal.
Mon Mothma's sister, who I'm like blanking on the actress's name and the character name.
Oh, cousin.
Yeah.
Cousin. Yeah.
I'll go look.
I love her.
I love her too. Loved her. She was wonderful in Game of Thrones. But
Yes, she
Jonathan
was.
kept saying,
Vel.
"Is that the girl Bradley Cooper?" He was like, "It's Bradley Cooper. It looks just like Bradley Cooper. Does Bradley Cooper have a daughter?" And I like just being funny, and I was just like, you know what? She kind of resemble Bradley Cooper a little bit.
I don't see that, but that's funny though.
You just have.
I had no idea her name was Faye.
Once you see it, you can't unsee it. I'll just say that.
Yeah.
Was that which girl was that on the show?
She was introduced in the Aldani arc,
the
blonde, Vel.
So
Vel.
One of the third-party vendors the company I work for works with, there's a girl who's always on that call that we have with them, and my coworkers and I were always like, she looks just like this girl from Andor. Like they could be twins. That doesn't matter to this.
That's
episode
her?
we're doing. But it
I
was
know
just,
what I
it
just
was
said
just
didn't
like
really
that.
matter either, but I just thought it was
It's fun.
Jonathan would be like, "Oh, look, there's Bradley Cooper." I'm like,
And guys, I hate to cut this short on my end, but I do have to run. I got to put my son to bed. He's having a hard time. But this has been so much fun just to be back. And, you know, I love being able to come on and hang out with you guys and being able to prove Michael wrong and that I'm always of the better opinion. No, I'm just kidding. No, I love you guys. And Michael, you know, I'm just playing with you.
Just get out of here.
Okay.
Give
On that
Samuel a big
note-
hug for us all.
But seriously, it's been great to be back. Michael, thanks for putting this together.
Dude, thank you for coming. I'm glad we got an hour out of you.
Yeah, me too. I had fun.
It flew by, didn't it?
It always does, honestly.
Yeah.
That's why
And
we have
we'll see you
3-hour
next-
episodes.
"We'll see you next time."
Oh, really quick. Jack says, "Good to see you, Curry." And yes, you're right more than Michael. Oh, let's take that off. the screen.
Vindication.
Go,
And on that
Godzilla.
note, remember, always look for the good.
See you, man.
Peace.
Bye.
All right, now let's get down to brass tacks. I'm just kidding. Guys, it's just us three, I guess. Thank you, Curry, for joining us I didn't know we'd get an hour out of him actually, so that's great. But okay, so do y'all have any more thoughts on Andor before we can change the subject and talk about other Star Wars things? But
We didn't talk
Yes.
about Bix.
I love Bix. I love Bix.
Oh my gosh, I almost couldn't even watch when she was getting tortured. It just made me so sad.
That scene was so intense.
And it made me think about how awesome Leia is that they did the same thing to her and they couldn't get anything out of her.
But it wasn't the same. It was a probe
because
droid.
Leia has a
Or,
rare
not a
force
probe
power.
droid. It was the kind of droid that I don't know what it's called. What's it called, Drew? You're the
Oh,
lore
wait,
guy.
who did they
like
do
a-
it to?
like a
They did it to
little
somebody
medical droid?
else, and I was like, oh my gosh.
As far as I know, this was a new thing. Like the way that they chose to torture was a brand
They
new
made him
thing.
listen to music.
Oh yeah.
Or some
okay,
like
see,
like
it's been a while.
they made him
since
listen to
I've
Florida
watched
Georgia
it.
Line and it killed them.
Oh, it was the screams of like children dying or
Yeah, like
something.
it- like, yeah.
Same thing.
Yeah, it was absolutely terrible. And so, yeah, I don't know how
there
Leia
was
would have
somebody
fared.
else that had the probe thing on something, and it made me think of that. But yes, that whole like I just couldn't, and I was like the whole time I was watching it. Now that I remember, thank you, Drew, my brain, that it was the screaming, dying
Yeah.
children.
Yeah.
The fact I was like, please don't play whatever it is she's listening to. Like, one, the suspense makes it more terrifying, and two,
Yes.
I do not want to hear what it is.
I think they were very wise to not show us for multiple reasons. I think you're absolutely right. We don't need to hear that. We do not need to hear that as people. But also, it made it worse because our imaginations just are imagining the absolute worst thing ever. And just that episode, I think that might have been the best single episode. Not because it was fun, but because it was just I remember that episode in particular was super, super intense, on multiple levels, and not just that one, but, man, so good.
Yeah, clearly I blocked that out of my memory because I was like so
Traumatic.
because I was like, oh yeah, it's the same thing. I was wrong. Sorry, my brain is
No,
scattered,
and
so.
Jack says I actually loved that they included that darkness from the Empire. That probably makes me weird. No, I'm with you. Actually, it makes me weird too, maybe. But I really love that we saw, even though it was a kids show, Rebels did show us some of the darkness of the Empire. Like we saw several times when they would go to oh crap, I'm blanking on Ezra's planet's name. What's
Lothal.
Lothal. Thank
Lothal.
you, Drew. We saw several
Hey.
times.
Not the only one that can't remember things.
I when we're on the spot, I always forget things.
That's what I'm here for.
Yeah, you're
Oh.
I'm really glad you're here. So, but yeah, we saw several times. We saw, the Empire would arrest these people who just who weren't complying with their new, guidelines and their new rules that they would put into place. And They would arrest and just burn down farms and like all this stuff. And we saw that in Rebels, but it was still like, you know, as much as I love Rebels, at times it's not as serious. You don't feel the weight quite as much. And in this show, I think in this show, there is, you know, before this show, I felt like you had some people, even though they're way wrong, you had some people being like, yeah, but the Empire's got a point. Like, I mean, you know, the Empire's right, kind of like those weirdos that think Thanos was right. And but like with this show, it just makes it extremely abundantly clear. No. The Empire is truly evil. Like, and there's no way around it. There is no way around it. And you have to come face to face with it. And we see all these different people groups having to deal with it and we actually see the inner workings of it. And I think some of my favorite scenes too, where the dog is my dog.
What's the dog doing?
Yeah, the dog that you hear is my dog.
She's like, excuse me. I want to pay attention to me.
Yeah, I know. You'll be fine. Anyway, I think some of my favorite scenes were just like were like the conference room scenes where we would just see these ISB agents talking to each other. And I found it. We never saw that before. It was just super fascinating. I mean, I guess we saw it a little bit in A New Hope, you know, but those were more the higher ranking officers, I feel like. So I just loved seeing all the stuff we've never seen. And then even like the weird little stuff they threw in, like blue space noodles and blue, you know, they threw in blue milk anywhere they could and cereal and like I just this stuff that we never would have thought in Star Wars, and here it is. And so
you might get it on the Space Cruiser on Disney.
Oh, I bet you could. Yeah. Blue noodles. Mm-hmm. I know you can get a blue milk thing, I've heard, but
oh yeah, there's a blue and a green milk that's like on Batu, but I haven't done the ship thing, but I want to, like, goals.
I've still not been to Disney ever, so
Batu, so that's so good.
I will.
I still
one day.
think that we all need to do like a group trip with like everybody.
It'd be so fun. It'd be so fun. To go into the Galaxy's Edge, all of us would be so fun.
Y'all, I cried when I saw the Millennium Falcon. Not even gonna lie.
I probably would too. And Kendall would be like, I don't know him. What?
I want to go behind the scenes. I want to see how the things work.
Drew has too much experience in the field of fairs and carnivals and just theme parks. I guess you don't even care about the front. You care about the behind.
I do, but I want to see the backs before I'm.
You would love Rise of Resistance. It's like such a cool ride.
Yes.
And the fact that it's like trackless and stuff is just like
one day
crazy.
You know what was cool about Andor? It showed what's the most PC way to put this? It showed 2 booty calls.
It did. Yeah. Well,
that was new for Star Wars.
Well, that and
Jonathan pointed that out. He goes, "Can they do this in Star Wars?" I was like, "Well,
yes, they can." I just saw that. I was like, wow, I didn't think that's Star Wars. How entertaining.
Yeah, I remember that. There's the first episode we see. Yeah. It starts right away in a basically a strip club, a brothel. Yeah, it was a brothel, and it starts right there. And I'm like, oh, all right. So that's what this show's going to be. And then, it might've been the end of that episode or the very next episode, but we saw, I was like, this is interesting. But
the ladies, man.
Well, I appreciated that they didn't go too far with that stuff. I feel like going too far. I feel like going too far in Star Wars. Well, I feel like going like Game of Thrones in Star Wars in that department would be a terrible mistake. It would not be good for the brand in any way. Plus, Disney would never ever do it. But I think just in general, even if Disney didn't own Star Wars, I still feel like it would be so off brand and so weird, it would be quite jarring. And so I think they did just enough to show, hey, this happens, but also at the same time, this is not offensive anyway, so, but I appreciated it. It kind of added to the world in a way, like especially starting in that seedy part of town, at the beginning of that episode that would look like Blade Runner. It kind of fit that that he was looking for his sister or whatever and all that stuff. It kind of fit where those kind of crooked cops were hanging out too, like it kind of fit even the story. So it never
Blade
felt like
Runner, you're right.
Yeah, and yet full transparency, I've only seen part of Blade Runner, but it definitely looked like what I saw. I need to watch that whole movie, but I know I can't believe I haven't seen all of it. But anyway, yeah. So any other Andor thoughts? I think I've covered a lot of mine. I love I could go on and on about like individual characters that I loved. I think there are so many that it did a great job with. Jess, I'm glad you brought up Bix. What?
Can I bop off a few of the Easter eggs from
do it.
Shop?
Do it.
Jessica
Go for
brought
it.
them up for me.
Yeah.
Padme's little headdress.
Yeah, Padme's little headdress.
Yep.
And there's a few other that are like kind of right behind that you can see. But there was a breastplate and shoulder pauldrons from Mandalorian armor.
Yep.
A Jedi Temple helmet, like one of the Jedi Temple guards.
Yeah, that was cool.
The Sankara stones from Indiana Jones and Temple of Doom were back there because Lucas likes to put some stuff from his from Indiana Jones and Star Wars and vice versa in Star Wars and Indiana Jones.
Was the whip in there too?
I think so. This list I'm looking at right here doesn't show the whip, but I do believe I saw it. And this list only has 10 of them. There was way more. Like even when I'm looking at the background of some of these pictures, like it doesn't mention there's a breathing mask just like Jedi Master Plo Koon wore.
And there's a piece of that wall from there's a piece of a wall that shows like the father.
A world between worlds.
Yeah.
Yes, it's on there. There's a Sith holocron and a Jedi holocron as well. Star Killer's helmet from Force Unleashed. Yeah, go ahead, Jess.
So again, the reason why my mind is so scrambled is I've been kind of rewatching Rebels and The Bad Batch all kind of at the same time and have not rewatched Andor, and so I'm kind of like but where in the I can't remember, and I know I could Google this, but like where in the timeline is like Rebels versus Andor?
That's a good question.
Like is it at the same time? Is it like is this happening before? Because if it's before, then they haven't gone to that temple yet. So that wall is from somewhere else.
I think it's before. It's got to be before Rebels because Mon Mothma hadn't. Because Mon Mothma was still laying low, right?
And she hasn't worn a toga yet.
That too, but in Rebels, Mon Mothma literally
Easter
tells
what is because that means that temple hadn't been destroyed yet for them to have a piece of that wall.
Yeah,
it's from somewhere else.
That is true.
So there's more than one entrance.
Or I believe in Rebels. And in Rebels, Hera's family heirloom that they recapture from Thrawn, it was in Luthen's shop as well, or one that just looked very, very similar to.
But a lot of them had those Calicories. I think a lot of the families had it, so it could have been it could have been anyone, I suppose. Yeah. But that's interesting. That wall thing is interesting though, because if this is time and it wasn't like an accident. That's very intentional and interesting.
Could be. That's a good catch, Jess. I never thought about that.
I didn't either.
That is very good. So fun fact. We actually watched an episode of Andor together.
Yeah, we did. So
me and my wife Holly and Jessica and Jonathan.
Yeah.
Did y'all really? Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, they were in this area of Arkansas and for a fair, and we got to see them 2 nights during that week. And one of them, Jonathan cooked at our house, and we watched an episode, and it was
jealous.
wonderful.
Jealous.
We had a really good time, and I played with the puppies and got a tour of their house. And Jonathan made me some pot roast to take home and cheeseburgers.
I was gonna say, here's the real question: how was the food?
Oh, it was bonkers. And then before then, like a few nights before that, went and ate at a Vietnamese restaurant together, and it was so good.
Ooh,
I went there twice actually.
It's so
I went there
good.
again.
Yeah, it's so good.
I went twice. It was awesome.
I want to get back up to Bentonville sometime. I miss the food. That's all. That's it. My brother lives there, and I'm like, I just want the food.
Oh, Ben, you can visit Ben.
I can. I actually have more reasons to go up there now. We just haven't had the time. But yeah, great food up there. That's so cool that y'all got to watch an episode together. How crazy!
I don't remember which one it was though. Which one was it? Was it one of the prisoners?
That's a good question. I don't know why I just growled like that, but I feel I really don't remember. I just did it again. I think it was like the third it wasn't the third episode.
No.
Maybe fifth.
They released the first 3 at the same time, so
oh, they did. It wasn't that then. It might have been like the 5th or 6th or something like that. I think it was one of the prison episodes. Actually, it was good.
So that would have been later, like 8 or 9 or 10.
It was
man,
good.
that's awesome. That's how fun.
Yeah.
You know what we should do sometime, and this has anyone listening, I'm sorry, this is boring, but what we should do next time, like with the Mandalorian, we should definitely do a Disney Plus party thing, and we should all watch some of the episodes together.
That way I can pause it and tell you about Easter eggs.
That'd be so fun. But yeah, anyway. Okay. So thanks, Jack.
Not bored. Thanks, man.
Number 1 fan.
Not bored. Okay, so we've talked Andor quite a while, and we could talk more, but also we have a lot of other things going on in Star Wars. The Bad Batch is currently on. I know Drew and I are the only ones actually caught up with it. Jess has not gotten the chance to watch it.
I love the Bad Batch so much.
I do too. I love it so much.
So if there's other things we want to talk about, we can talk about them first, and then I can peace out, and y'all can go into Bad Batch season 2.
So let's do that. So let's talk about. Well, we could talk about. I would like to hear what Jess has been watching with the you've been watching Rebels and the Bad Batch. I'd like to hear if you have any new thoughts on what you've been watching, but also we need to talk about the Mandalorian season 3. It's coming out soon, and the trailer released like a week ago, and it's so let's talk about the Mandalorian and all that stuff going on, and then we'll talk about some of the other stuff later. How's that?
Yes.
Okay, so this trailer dropped, and I'm like super hyped for the show. I've been excited for it, but I'm extremely stoked for the show. It caused me to today. I started my official rewatch of the entire series, including I'm going to also do the Book of Boba Fett again. So I'm rewatching all of it before March 1st, and only watched the. Look at that! You got the poster.
That's the poster Jessica got me.
Mine is damaged.
Swiped some extras on.
My poster was damaged when you gave it to me, unfortunately.
You picked. I was like, okay, who cares the most about this show? Because one of them.
That was clearly Drew. I couldn't take the good I couldn't take the in good shape poster.
So I think you took one for the team, and I didn't even take one. I gave them all to you guys.
Yeah, I definitely did.
Being team players.
It's okay. And but unfortunately, I can't put it on my wall.
Michael.
I'm glad I have one. I still have it. It's in a drawer over here.
Could you mat around because there's like a tear in one of the corner?
Maybe, but it's more like there's part of the picture that's like torn off. Like it looks like it got stuck to something. You know what I mean?
It got stuck to the back of mine.
That's what happened. It got stuck and it reports
some of the right now.
Yeah, it's tore some of it off. So yeah, that's the main problem.
If
A rip
someone
is
has an
whatever.
extra poster for it, we can give it to Michael.
It's fine. It's
Because
fine.
I'm clearly the worst for digging through the theater stuff to find
Nah. But anyway, I am really excited. I started my rewatch. I watched the first episode today, and I love that episode. I think the very first Mando episode has grown on me a lot since it first came out, and I liked it a lot when it first came out. But Dave Filoni, that was his first directing in live action, and in general, you can tell that it's his first episode at times. But at times, I also feel like it's just really solid. Like even the action stuff, I think it's super underrated what they did with the and I'm sure he had Jon Favreau's help behind the scenes. Jon Favreau is probably a partial ghost director on this episode, but the action with IG-11 and Din Djarin at the end of the episode is incredible. Like it's so cool. And I think it just does a great job of introducing the world and introducing these characters, and then it leaves us hanging with Baby Yoda at the end. It does everything a first episode should do. And so I love that episode, and I'm excited to go and rewatch all the rest of it. But yeah, this trailer got me really, really, really hyped for this next season. I really don't know what we're in store for. I know there's a lot of leaks going around. I haven't read any of them. I hate leaks. But I know there's a lot of talk about
the L word.
Lesbians?
Ligma?
Where did that even come from, Michael? I was saying leaks.
That's is that not that's what the show is. No, anyway,
Oh yeah, there is a show.
There's a show, right? Okay, yeah. I don't want to get canceled.
I'm self-employed. You can't cancel me.
But
yeah, cancel our podcast though. Don't do that.
Oh my gosh, you guys.
No.
Kidding.
No, but anyway, I know there's leaks going around or whatever, and I think from what I understand, they may be leaning more into the heading more into. We got some hints of some cloning with Snoke, leading up to how Snoke was created and all that stuff, and all that. So like sequel trilogy connections and all that. I'm good with that. I'm obviously really happy when the sequel trilogy gets affirmed. Here's my only thing, okay? I really cannot overstate how stupid I think the cloning of Luke's hand thing from the comics is, and I have not read the full comics, but I know that I've read that part of it, and I think it's uninteresting, and I think it's stupid, and I really, really hope they do not lean into that too much. I really hope not. I really, really, really hope not. And they keep it to Grogu, and they can do other stuff too.
Hope?
It's my only hope. Help me, Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni. You're my only hopes. Please do not lean too far into that, because I think that is super lame, in my opinion. I think Star Wars cloning stuff is cool sometimes, and I think it's super lame sometimes. So I really hope that it's not the lame kind that they go into. But that's my only concern. I find it's hit and miss when you deal with cloning stuff. Sometimes it feels really rich and it adds a ton to the lore. Like all of the cloning stuff in the prequels, I found super fantastic, and I love the Camino stuff. I love how they dealt with it in the Bad Batch. All that stuff is so good. And then there's stuff like I made Snoke and the whole setup in Rise of Skywalker, and then there's the hand thing that I read about, and then I know there's some other stuff I've read about from the EU that I also thought was dumb, but we don't have to get into all of that. I think that it's hit and miss, and I think it can either be super cool and rich, or it can be like kind of just cheap sci-fi feeling to me. And there reaches a certain point with the cloning stuff. It doesn't quite feel like Star Wars to me, but I'm open and I want to love all of it. So that would be my only thing. If they're going to lean into this cloning stuff, I hope they do it well. And I do, at the end of the day, I do trust Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau. So I do. So I think that'd be my one concern. But in general, I'm really excited to go back to Mandalore and see the Mandalorians there and see what all that has to do with for Din's his character arc. I think that's going to be super interesting. I think, okay, there's one other concern, and I guess it's not a concern that I can really, I guess it's already just kind of happened. They're back together already. And I think Din and Grogu, they're back together already after that super emotional finale in season 2. And they're back together from another show. So I think that kind of takes the wind out of some really potential emotional storytelling for me. So I kind of wish they would have drugged that out through the season a little further. But yeah, overall, I'm really excited. And I know I just shared a couple of concerns, but I'm really excited for the show. I'm really excited to have a lot of fun with it. But I'm also, I would be lying if I said I didn't have a couple of little concerns about it. What do y'all think? Am I crazy or what? Well, don't say that. Don't answer that.
I mean, I think it's normal for everyone to have concerns about something, especially if you feel passionate about something one way or the other, especially when it's like a project and something that you really, you really love.
I just think that ending with Luke.
Concerns. I think there's a difference between having concerns and jumping to assumptions and criticizing your assumptions and just putting that out on blast.
Agree. And I'm not doing that.
No.
Yeah, I totally agree. I just found the end of that season first of all, season 2 of The Mandalorian period was just so good. And the build up to what we eventually got with Luke at the end and Grogu choosing to go with Luke and and then seeing Din take his helmet off like that all meant so much. Even if some of it was subtle, it was so powerful. It was such a powerful ending. Oh, bye, Jess. It was such a powerful ending to that season. And then I'm concerned that they got back together so quickly. And it also is weird that it happened in the Book of Boba Fett instead of The Mandalorian. I actually think for the general public, I wonder how many people are going to be confused because I don't think everyone watched the Book of Boba Fett.
And they missed out.
And some people think they really missed out. Hey, I actually do like the Book of Boba Fett. It's not my favorite, but I know you do. I liked it. I really did. Hey, Jess, you're back.
I'm never using my phone again. This is horrible.
But
from our conversations that was like my only concern or complaint after the Book of Boba Fett was over was that was like, oh, that was a little quick, but
it was super quick. But here's the thing: those 2 episodes though were so good. I just wish they were in The Mandalorian. They should have just been in The Mandalorian. And I don't know. It just felt like they wasted a little bit of emotional storytelling opportunity to deal with stuff on both of those characters separately. I think it could have been really cool. But it is what it is. Ultimately, I'm happy as soon as they show them together again, I'm going to be like, oh, like I'm going to be really happy. But
I do feel like it's really weird that they show that on a different show.
So weird.
I don't know. So I don't know. I really did enjoy the Book of Boba Fett, but it did seem like almost 2 separate things. I don't know. It was fun and it was great, and I know we've already talked about all of it, but now that
go listen to our episodes.
Yes. But now that season 3 of The Mandalorian is coming out, even though it was exciting to get some of that story, then I kind of wished that it had been now because and they might go over some of it again in this. I don't know, but I hate that we didn't get Ahsoka meeting Luke and those conversations. And
I bet we'll still get that. We'll get that sometime.
It might be in the Ahsoka show, but still, I don't know. That's not That's just not how I, as a huge Ahsoka fan, wanted to see her first interaction with Luke. Like that
I'm with
left
you.
me a little empty. Like it seemed a little empty. Like that should have been such a huge, like emotional thing. And to skip that section just seemed an odd choice to me.
Again, I agree. I definitely agree for the most part. I do think that they're gonna do it though. I think that they're gonna. There's no way Dave Filoni is passing up the opportunity to have her talk about to have Luke tell Ahsoka that Anakin came back to the light at the end. There's no way
Well,
that
and I want to
Dave
hear
Filoni's
her.
not. Yeah.
I want to hear her tell him stories of like Obi-Wan and
Oh yeah,
Anakin
and
like
yeah.
all their
Oh yeah.
stuff. Yeah.
It will be, and I guarantee you it's going to happen. I can guarantee you. But you're right. It was weird that we skipped ahead, and we're going to tell it non-linear. You know, Jack did say. Sorry, Drew. Really quick. Jack did say we had mentioned. Drew and I had mentioned while you were off, Jess, that I think that some of the general audience is probably going to be confused because they probably not everybody watched the Book of Boba Fett, and so they're going to be like, "Wait, they're back together." And so Jack said he feels like they're going to reconnect all that in the beginning or connect all that in the beginning of the season. They have to. They have to do some sort of whether it's like some sort of a recap thing at the beginning to get people caught up because there's no way that they're just going to start. You know, I just have a hard time believing that. There's so many people I guarantee you that didn't watch, like just general audience that aren't nerds like us. And then Jack says, I think Ahsoka and Luke had a much deeper story when they connect. I feel like we'll get all of that in the show, but Allah want.
But all I want.
Oh, but all I want. I want to find Thrawn.
Yeah, I think he.
Yeah, sorry,
yeah.
Jack. Yeah. That's gonna be awesome too. The whole Thrawn of it all. I think that's coming. It feels kind of like he might be the Thanos that they're like this pocket of Star Wars that we're doing, the Thanos of that, connected television universe, which could be really cool because
are we gonna get some Ian McDermott?
Some Ian McDermott.
It is possible.
We will be watching with great interest. I'll tell you that. Am I right?
I mean,
he's just fantastic. Let's be real. Like all of his interviews, like all this stuff. Like that man is just. He plays one of the evilest characters ever, but he's just solid.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, he loves playing the character too. Drew, did you have something you wanted to say a minute ago? You and I cut you off.
No, it's fine. It always gets that way on the online thing, so I just try not to forget what I was going to say. I'm like this in person though, you know that. With the Ahsoka and Luke, I do know I can't imagine how Jessica feels as like one of the biggest Ahsoka fans I know to be like, oh, that can't be the first time they've met. I want to know more of them. Okay, so I correctly predicted Qui-Gon's involvement in the Kenobi TV series. If you go back and watch our live stream or listen to the episode, I hand and foot whatever perfectly predicted that he would attempt to contact Qui-Gon the whole show and fail, and he would literally show up like right at the end. I correctly predicted that, so I'm going with another prediction here. In the Ahsoka show, it might not be every episode, but we're going to have a flashback of Ahsoka. She's going to be like meditating in the current time. It's going to be like Boba with the back to tanks. And she's going to be reflecting on conversations she's had with Luke and different stuff they had, including the first time. Or Anakin,
going to be in it?
We hope so.
I don't know if it's been confirmed, but like by Lucasfilm, but they don't confirm much.
Also, would that be if she's meditating, like maybe on the ghost, possibly, and she's having flashbacks like the first time she encountered Luke or did this or that, and we maybe even get to see like a live action adaptation of something that happened with her in Rebels, or oh my gosh, can you imagine if there's a live action snippet of the duel on Malachor with Hayden as Vader? Oh my gosh, I just had that
Yeah.
thought and it is awesome. That was all I
Could
had
do
to say. So I'm just predicting that something like that's
And
gonna happen.
like with what you were saying, Drew, like that's like it's not just true for me because of being like an Ahsoka fan, but I'm like unabashedly, is that the right word? I don't even know
Yeah.
if that's a word.
Yeah, sure.
Hey, look, my brain worked. An Anakin fan. Like especially with the Clone Wars series, like the character of Anakin Skywalker to me is just such a wonderful character, and like Darth Vader is like to me like the ultimate villain, and like his whole story arc and his redemption, like all of that is just like peak story to me. And yeah, and so I think that's another reason why I was like sad, because like I knew not only, and I love Padme, and so not only was like this about her meeting Anakin's like son or about Ahsoka, but it's also like the fact that this is Anakin's kid and Padme's kid. You know, she was like a
Yes.
little sister to both of them.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
so like that to me is why I was like, I wanted to cry, and I mean it's not that I didn't cry, but like I wanted it to be like that moment of like realizing like who each other is, and like I don't know, like it did make me a little sad that they skipped ahead and did that.
I
I
agree
think
with
they'll
you.
give it to us.
I think they will too, but I agree with Jess. I think that is weird, and especially because if you look at that episode, she didn't need to be there. Not really, you know. Like the only thing that she did was just guide into Luke and Grogu, but you didn't need that necessarily. Like he could have just walked and found them. I think her in that episode was a little bit like maybe premature, but or whatever. I don't know, but I mean, I love seeing her always. But
I know
I
why
think
they did it.
why
I know why they did it.
why
Because they were shooting 2 shows at once.
Maybe.
what does that have to do with it though?
Well, I mean, you know, they wouldn't get Rosario Dawson and all that get up in costume and have her just to show up for, you know, roughly 2 minutes or so of the Book of Boba Fett. They were
And it
shooting
could have
maybe
been
some
a
of the
day that
Ahsoka stuff at the same time. And they just
it
happened
could
to
have
just little shared
and
studio time.
it could have been a day that Lucas was able to be on set too.
Oh, that would be cool.
Could have been. I don't
No,
know.
I'm being very just throwing kind of just like very just outlandish predictions tonight. But you know,
It's like, I mean, it does make sense from a production standpoint. If you are filming stuff and you're gonna have one character there already and somebody's already in all of that, like it does kind of make sense for.
But don't throw them in. But don't throw them in unless it works for the story. And what was
I
her
know,
point in
but
that
I feel like
story?
that's what they did. But
True.
I'm just saying, I feel like that's what they did. Like
Maybe.
I don't know. Mark Hamill
That is-
was there. She got to meet Mark Hamill. You know what I mean? Like
This is
I don't
Drew, by the way. Drew Sorry, Drew
Blah,
Tavares.
blah, blah.
What's up, Drew? How's you doing?
hi Drew, other Drew.
Other Drew. Dude.
I don't know. It might have
Yeah.
been the only time for her and Mark Hamill to like really, I don't know.
Yeah.
Or they really
each
wanted a
other and
cameo. That's
Yeah.
possible. Just for
All
fun.
of these are not good reasons to come on first.
I
Which
mean,
is-
and they're not solid reasons, and I still don't love that. Like, I mean, I've already given my like critique of it, but I
Yeah.
mean, it is what it is. So
which is
Yeah.
I
something
just
we
feel
praise
like
Daniel
that
for.
show could have been so much better than it
I
was.
agree. I agree. It was such a weird way to tell the story, the structure. Drew, I know. I'm sorry. But it was a really weird way to tell the story. Like for me, I will stand by this forever. The best episode of the Book of Boba Fett was episode 2. It was peak. It was the peak of the show being what the show should have been. And just it was the peak of what the show could have been and should have been the whole time. It was the best balance of character telling and action that the show had, and it was about Boba Fett like it should have been. And the way that they did those first 4 episodes, and then they did the 2 Mando episodes, and then boom, finale. Really kind of a bizarre structure, and it did not really flow to me. However, I will say when I binged it, I rewatched it, and I liked it better upon rewatch when I got to just binge it and watch it all the way through. But I don't know. It was a really strange structure to tell the story with, and I did find still that the flashback stuff was by far the most interesting part of the show with the Tuskens.
Absolutely.
And when we got back to the crime, since him running the crime syndicate or whatever was really boring. I found that really lackluster for me. Yeah, I did.
We've already had our discussions.
I liked it.
I don't remember, Drew. Let's go.
No. I mean, I liked it. I just wish it didn't seem like too but Book of Boba Fett and then like a mini Mandalorian.
Yeah.
Something.
And by the way, two excellent episodes of The Mandalorian. Like really good ones. Like I really love them, but they were weirdly in that show. I'm sure they will.
Boba showing up to help reclaim Mandalore and fight the Imperial Remnant.
And they're going to have 2 episodes that are Boba Fett focused in The Mandalorian.
It's accounting. It comes out.
I mean, he is a Mandalorian, so.
No, listen, I don't have a problem with other people showing. After the first episode that it happened, I was like, guys, that happens in television, or that happens in television. It happens in books. You take a chapter and you go to another character's perspective for a while. It helps you get in their shoes and all that. It's great. And I was totally behind it for 1 episode, but when it did it for a second, I was like, okay, but the next one's the finale. This is kind of weird. It kind of lost me a little bit, even though it was amazing. The episode was great.
Speaking of appearances, do we think, or is it confirmed? I have been trying to stay away from Star Wars news. Is it confirmed that we are getting Sabine?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh,
she's been cast.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's been cast and everything. I don't remember who it is.
Is she going to be in The Mandalorian, or is she going to be?
Oh, she's confirmed for Ahsoka. She's confirmed for Ahsoka, but I don't.
I'm talking about in The Mandalorian.
Could be
going to get Sabine.
We might, since she's cast and everything. But I don't know.
Her name is Natasha Liu Bordizzo. I probably butchered that.
Probably Bordizzo.
She's from Australia, and I've only watched her in 1 movie, and I would have walked out of this movie. It was on an airplane. It was so horrible.
What movie was it?
I don't even remember. I'd have to go look it up, but I was watching
Snakes on a Plane. I watched Snakes on a Plane on a plane.
On a plane.
Yeah, no, I would have freaked out. I would have died. Just yeah, the movie I was watching, if it was on an airplane, I would have walked out 100%.
No, but she's been cast. I don't know if she's going to be in The Mandalorian or not, but she could be.
That's what I'm curious about.
It's conceivable.
Not the Ahsoka part, but inconceivable. No,
it's conceivable. It is conceivable.
In The Mandalorian, I wonder if she's going to make an appearance.
It definitely makes. Oh, there we go. Drew says, Sabine being in Mando season 3 needs to happen. It wouldn't make much sense if she wasn't. I think. Yeah, I think you could. I think it would be fine if she wasn't, but I do think she could totally be in season 3. It would make a lot of sense. So, yeah. I think
mean, if they're, I'm sorry, you go ahead, Michael.
I didn't have a really complete thought. I was just going to say, I think it could work. I think she could totally be. And I mean, and they've done that too. There's precedent for introducing a character like, they obviously they introduced Ahsoka, live action Ahsoka in The Mandalorian for 1 episode, and she's getting a show. And then they introduced Boba Fett and, for 1 episode or whatever. And so they've done this kind of thing before, even though Sabine's not getting her own show. Could be cool if she did, but yeah, so this has definitely happened. Minor note, this is not anything to do with Sabine, but I just remembered something I saw in the trailer. I'm really excited that Carson Teva or Teva, whatever, is coming back.
Yeah. Cool.
The pilot, the New Republic pilot, like cop that the one that's not Dave Filoni, Jess, I'm trying to make sure you remember because you don't look like you remember. Okay, cool. So
Sorry, in my mind, I was just thinking, are we getting more Bill Burr in Star Wars?
please, his
I love
episode.
Bill.
Oh, I really think his episode last season was one of the best episodes, period, that they've done. It was so
watching
Sorry,
some
good.
of his stand-up
that's where
tonight.
my mind went. That was like when you were saying that, I was like thinking about that. So
How good was his episode? For real, so good. But I'm excited to see Carson Teva. He's like a character that has gotten so little screen time, but I love anytime he's on the screen. And he's just one of those little. I love that they're like our New Republic cops essentially, and they drive X-wings. Like
I still
love
want to
that
see a buddy
idea.
cop Star Wars, like Super Troopers, but in Star Wars.
So we don't have to get into this because
I agree, Drew.
this whole situation. But I would love for them to have another what are they called? Drop troopers? Whatever.
Dark Troopers?
No, not dark troopers. It was like that that shall not be named. Like
Yeah, Republic Drop
I
Troopers, yeah.
Yes, I would love to have another character come into play that had that role in the rebellion, because I would love to learn more about that and that side of things. So
say that again. I'm sorry, I'm not following. I think I just misunderstood you. Say that again, Jess.
I would like another person who had that role as a character, like another character come in that had that role in the rebellion, so we can get more background on.
Oh, like Cara Dune. Like,
Yeah.
Okay, I see what you're saying. Like a person who was also a drop trooper.
Instead of like recasting, because they're not going to do that. But like,
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
Bring in another person, because I wanted to learn more about. That was like interesting to me, the backstory on.
I agree.
Someone who fought in that way in the rebellion.
I agree. I think that'd be awesome. I've always been interested in the Alderaan, in Alderaan in general. It's such an interesting planet in Star Wars to me, and
yes,
I always want to have more of that, and it's so tragic
someone
too.
Who can actually act.
That would be great. That would be great this time.
And isn't a butthole.
As far as just the character and the acting goes, I didn't think she was bad for what we got in the show. Like, as far as
serviceable,
it was fine. It wasn't great, but it was fine. But she's easily replaceable and easily, like, you don't have to recast Cara Dune. So I saw someone on Twitter. I saw someone on Twitter. I don't remember who it was, but they said they should just recast Cara Dune as a Gamorrean guard or as a Gamorrean and not say a word about it. Like, no explanations whatsoever. I thought that was hilarious.
Recast with Bill Burr.
Cara Dune.
Get him all like bulked up. That'd be great.
From Alderaan.
Sons of for Mando season 3 and then reclaiming Mandalore. We were talking about the possibility of Sabine showing up in Mando season 3. Why wouldn't Din recruit? I mean, do you think just like random people, like Bill Burr's character, like he was cool. I love him. He's not going to come fight to help reclaim Mandalore. He doesn't care unless he's getting, paid probably. Din is going to have to recruit people who have an interest in the planet or have history there. So, I mean, it makes sense for...
And like,
totally makes sense to have Sabine.
Probably
maybe even Ahsoka.
Yeah, Bo-Katan like definitely has like connections to like get her. And she's also... Sabine would also be a great person to give him more information on the Darksaber.
Yeah.
For them information on the Darksaber.
Plus there's a lot of history and there could be a really great emotional element to bring in. Like, I think that there could be a way of making I predict, I know I'm not the only one that predicts this, but I predict that I think that Bo-Katan might be I'm not going to say villain, but she could be an antagonist for Din in this series, because we have that whole conflict that was kind of set up at the end of season 2. Din has the Darksaber and she has to win it from him, like, and she
Gotta
wants
get
it.
it from me.
And so I think there could be a conflict there, but I do think that I don't think they stay enemies at the end of the day. I don't think that happens. I wonder if Sabine could have something to do with it. You know what I mean? Like, she's like, Sabine and Bo-Katan know each other from the past, and I think that could be an interesting way to bring her in. And plus, we've all been, remember in season 2, there was that shot in the trailer of who ended up just being some rando Mandalorian, but it was another wrestler. I cannot remember her name. Drew,
Casca Reeves was her name.
I knew it. There you go. Thank you.
Her real,
I knew you'd
the
know.
real name. Oh gosh, what was her? And then
Sasha Banks. Sasha Banks.
Axe Woves was the other dude.
Yeah. So there was that shot of her in a robe or something like that, and everyone was like, "I bet that's Sabine. That's Sabine." Like, we've been thinking Sabine is going to show up for like forever anyway. She works in the show.
She could have been like hidden in different places, and then when she's introduced, we could be like, "Oh, that was Sabine." You know what I mean? Like, she's sneaky. She's sneaky like that.
Sneaky. By the way, Jack.
And she's been around with Ahsoka, so I'm pretty sure Ahsoka taught her some sneakiness too.
True. By the way, Jack has the best opinion of the night.
Yeah.
He says, "I just need Hondo in any shape or form in live action," and I totally agree. And honestly, The Mandalorian is the perfect tone for that. Like, The Mandalorian is fun, and
he's a galaxy's edge. He's alive.
Yeah, I mean, right? No, I really think that they have to have him on eventually, and with the and they could even do the thing with, I think I said this before on here, but they could even, in season 1, we had Queel. Remember Queel? Rest in peace. We had him, and he was acted by an actor in the suit with, with all the makeup and all that stuff, but voiced by, I'm blanking on the name, but an older guy actor. I cannot remember. I'm blanking on his name right now.
Very, very popular.
Yes. Dude. Jack, help me out here. I know you know this. But yeah, he was voiced by someone else, and so the idea of Hondo being voiced by the voice actor that voiced him, Cummings, what's his name? Jim Cummings. He could absolutely voice him without acting him. You know what I mean? We could have an actor play him, and it would be perfect. I think we could absolutely have that.
Nick Nolte.
Yep, there it is, right there.
Hey.
That's the person right there. Thank you. That was Jack, right? Yeah. Thank you, Jack. Not you. We named the monkey Jack. I'm just okay. Pirates.
I told them not to park on that.
Hey, we're talking about pirates. Hondo. It's perfect. So yeah, I agree, Jack. I think Hondo would be amazing in the show.
Really. Din's gonna be like, we need an arms smuggler to get weapons onto the planet of Mandalore. And Ahsoka will be there like, I know a pirate guy. He can help us. And Hondo shows up.
If it's anyone but Hondo, I swear. Ezra, you lied to me? I've never been so proud. I love him so much.
Hondo's so great. It would be great to see Rosario as Ahsoka be like, I know a guy.
I know a guy.
And then
I love it.
There.
I love it. All right. Any other Mandalorian thoughts, predictions, opinions, things?
It's going to be
of that
awesome.
Nature. I'm so pumped for it. It looks.
I totally
huge
forgot it was
scope.
Like this March. For some reason, I was thinking
March 1st
next year, and I was like, "Wait, it is 2023."
Yeah, it is. We're in it now. In fact, I just realized my debit card expires in like a month, and I was like, "Oh, it's happening." It's always seemed like so far away. Let's see here. Okay, so Jess, you're about to have to leave, right? Mm-hmm. Am I right? Yeah. So I guess we can bid you adieu, and Drew and I can talk some Bad Batch, and then we can wrap this up.
Yeah. I am close to being finished rewatching season 1.
Where are you?
Bounty Lost, the one after Bounty Lost, I think.
So you're like halfway.
Yeah.
Me and Holly she's watching through season 1 with me right now, and she really loves the Bad Batch too.
It's so good.
I'm
enjoyed
so
the
glad.
Clone Wars. We watched it together for the first time. She really
Yeah.
loved it.
Jack's got to go as well. Jack, I'll see you later, man. Thanks for joining us. You're the best. Yeah, I don't know what it is. The Bad Batch really is just like my jam, and I can't really put my finger on it. It's got a great balance of fun and cool lore stuff and emotional storytelling, but mostly it's just fun. I just love the each little individual adventure they go on. And I think last time I rewatched it a few times now, but last time I rewatched it, I think every single time I watch it again, the episodes that stand out for me the most are just the ones that we get to see, like where like episodes where we see what the Empire is doing to other planets a lot more closely. So like that episode where that took place on Saleucami, that one is one of my favorites.
I watched the one where they went to Raxus.
Raxus, that's the one. That's the one. Yeah, I love how they start that episode with the governor or whatever, and he refuses. Yeah. The senator, and he refuses to comply, and he gets arrested. That's such a great opening, and then seeing the Bad Batch have to be like, we're not going to help them. They're separatists, and being like, oh wait. The separatists aren't the bad guys. Like that whole thing is so interesting to me. And then having the next episodes being the ones on Ryloth. I loved those episodes.
Yes.
So much.
Here's the other thing. I feel like Raxus is like such a underplayed planet. That place is beautiful. The architecture, the trees. I'm like, I want to get a live action this planet.
It's gorgeous.
So cool.
It's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah, I love it. And all of the animation in the Bad Batch is gorgeous. All the places are. But yeah, Ryloth, those two episodes, that because I always loved that first episode of the Ryloth arc, we barely see the Bad Batch at all. It's all about the Syndulas,
Is that like changing up?
For one episode, they come right back in the next episode. Also, there's 16 instead of 7, so there's that too.
Fair.
But yeah,
well, y'all get to talk about the new episodes that I will hopefully watch soon.
Yes,
I'm pacing myself so that I don't miss anything, so that I get all the good nuggets before I start the second season. And I've been riding my bike while I watch it, so.
Nice.
Workout.
I hope it's stationary.
Yeah. No, I have a trainer for my bike. So
you like riding around the block. You're like, whoa.
No. I'm just in front of a TV.
Just wanted that clarification to the listeners.
Yeah. No. It's inside on a trainer. I would not be watching anything while I was riding my bike.
It's so rude when a jogger bounces off of your windshield when you're just trying to scroll Facebook. It's the rudest thing ever.
Listen, I've been hit by a car. 0 out of 10 would not recommend. It was a minivan.
I feel you. I nearly got killed at a demo derby. I totally feel you.
You guys, you both have been hit by cars?
It just came really close.
Street. I was literally in a crosswalk crossing the street.
It's current.
This soccer mom I don't actually know if she was a soccer mom, but she had this white minivan.
Just assuming because she's driving a minivan. She's a soccer mom.
I mean, she didn't really look like a soccer mom. But bless her, I don't mean this in the Southern way, bless her heart. Like literally, I feel bad.
Bless her heart.
Bless
I do
her
feel hard
heart
for her. And her kid has to be traumatized for life because literally it's kind of funny thinking about it now because I'm okay. She didn't even see me until I was on her windshield.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry to laugh, but it's just because of what I said.
But yeah, Jonathan got to watch the police footage before it was taken down, and he's like, it was kind of comical, but only because you were okay.
Wow. Only because you're
I'm gonna-
okay.
I'll help pick you up, but
Because
I'm gonna
you're
laugh
okay.
first.
Oh my gosh. All right, Jess. Well, on that weird note, I'm glad you got
Don't
to
get
hop
hit by
on.
a car. Do not recommend it.
I agree with you. Okay, so Jess, thanks for coming on. I'm glad we got to spend some time all just yapping about Star Wars. I really missed this a lot, and I'm really glad we all got to hang out again.
Yay.
So
Yes.
we'll do it again soon, and of course, you will be back on. So
So,
soon.
And then hopefully I can finally get some. I've been wanting to make my TikTok like Star Wars content, and so at some point I will be able to do that. So
Deal. Perfect.
All right. Well, y'all have fun talking Bad Batch season 2. I cannot wait to watch it. I'm really excited.
We will have fun, won't we?
All right. See
Yeah.
All
y'all
right, bye,
later.
Jess.
Bye.
now we can practice a secret handshake and sacrifice a chicken.
What? Chicken. Curry says my wife told me I was being really sassy, and then said, because you were on a podcast with Michael again. So I was in debate mode. Yeah, it is really funny the sassy side that Curry and I bring out in each other. I think we're it was fun debating in person again. Well, not really debating. We didn't debate much, but it was fun being sassy with Curry in person again.
I like when Josh gets sassy. He's a funny sass.
Oh man,
When he
Josh gets
rolling,
really. I love sassy Josh.
he gets rolling good.
Yeah.
There's no stopping him for about 2 hours or so. It's great.
Josh, come on! I miss you talking about The Last Jedi with me. I barely mentioned it this whole time.
I mentioned it once.
I know.
told him not to park on that beach there.
Dude. What an underrated part of that movie. I love that part.
Those are some of my
Isn't
favorite
that-
things in Star Wars. That just little stuff like
I'm
that.
99% sure that that's Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Really?
Yep, he's in every Rian Johnson movie as a cameo at the very least, or a lead, and so I think that's him, if I'm not mistaken. I think
I've never seen the movie Looper, and I really want to.
I've only seen like half of it, and it's incredible what I've seen, but I haven't gotten to see all of it. Because I started it super late at night, and I couldn't stay up, but it was really, really great what I saw. Curry says, Michael, watch Looper. Yeah, I know.
It's on my list.
I own it. I started it. I loved it so far. I love it.
How many times have I told you all that? It's on my list.
Curry says the ending makes no sense. Oh, come on. Well, you got to be hating on Rian Johnson all the time. Okay. Drew, listen. We're 4 episodes into season 2 of the Bad Batch. How are we feeling so far? I love it. This is your home.
Listen, I don't know what it is, but I told you the other day that the Bad Batch for me has nearly surpassed Rebels already in its 2nd season. And that's no discredit to Rebels. Now, like 80% of Rebels, like there's stuff like Jedi Knight and all the stuff with Kanan and Ezra.
Shroud of Darkness.
Yes. The Twilight of the Apprentice. That stuff will probably never be topped. But literally just about everything else, even with like Callus and Zeb, everything else is just like, okay, Bad Batch, you're I have the hiccups, I'm dying. I don't know what it is. And I love Rebels. Like it is top tier. Some of the best stuff in Star Wars happens in Rebels. But for some reason the Bad Batch is just 10 out of 10 for me. I don't know what it is. The only issue, but we are only 4 episodes in. One of the early, kind of things that was out there for the season 2 of the Bad Batch was that it introduced a lot of old lore and had some cool callbacks. And we've not really had that yet, but obviously there's still the entire back 2/3 of the season or whatever to go. So I'm being patient, but and that wasn't even a confirmed thing, but I'm still waiting on that. So maybe it's just one of my unfair fan expectations, but it's so incredible. I love everything about the Bad Batch, top to bottom. It's just
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like this show just strikes a wonderful balance between like
Yes.
it's got definitely has emotional parts in it. In every episode, I was able to find really great thematic elements to it, but at the end of the day, it's just freaking fun. Like it's just Star Wars, and it's just Star Wars when it's fun, and I love when Star Wars is just fun, you know. And we've really grown to love each of our characters in the Bad Batch, and I think just
Dare I grab him off the shelf?
you better. But like when when we got the arc in the Clone Wars, I really liked it, and I liked the characters. There he is. Look at Wrecker.
Uncle Wrecker.
But we got we got them in the Clone Wars originally in that arc, and I liked them. I thought those were fun episodes. Like Curry said earlier, that was an arc that could have been 3 episodes instead of 4. But
yes, it could have been.
But I liked the episodes. I thought they were really fun, but they were really exaggerated. So I was wondering when they announced the show, I was like, I mean, I guess that'll be cool, but I don't know how they're going to do a show off those characters. They instantly made them, as soon as that first episode happened, they instantly made each of those characters much more than caricatures. You know what I mean? They were much more than like, hey, this is the Star Wars A team. That they're not that. They kind of are
from Madagascar.
They're real. They totally are. But they are real characters. I really care for Wrecker. With that whole mini arc where we thought that he was going to turn because of the chip, I was so nervous about that. And
I'm still shaking from it.
And the one that I'm really still waiting for, I need more with Echo. I need more focus on Echo. But I love so far this season they have seemed to give more attention to Tech, which also needed to happen. And this past episode was tech centric, and it was great. It was just so fun. And so I'm loving the show, period. But what are your thoughts specifically? So you said you're waiting for maybe some more of the lore stuff that you're hoping happens, but when you're judging the show for what has happened so far, what's been your favorite episode yet? And what are you how are you feeling about the story so far and everything that's happened?
So the story, it kind of, overall what the format's going to be. They are mercenary clones making their way through the galaxy, but slowly and steadily they're getting tied into more of some other stuff going on, and because of their convictions and their history, they're getting dragged into more stuff. And I really love seeing that. And crazy enough, the best episode was episode 3, which didn't feature the Batch at all.
Yeah,
it was Cody and Crosshair. But speaking of Cody, where is he? I got a little custom Cody.
Nice.
And I'm about to order a little Bad Batch custom, like a little knockoff Lego set, and it comes with a Cody, so you can have him because I already have this one.
Nice.
And it has a Rex and a Jesse too, but I get Jesse, so too bad. But you can have the Rex. I already have a Rex too up here. That episode was incredible. And so my uncle, I was speaking with him recently, and he just kind of watched a little bit of the Bad Batch here and there, just real casually. And the Bad Batch, it's like my nephew is in first grade and he would love the Bad Batch. But what's crazy is that the Bad Batch, it does really so Rebels was like 90% for kids, and they threw some deep stuff in there. Incredible deep stuff. The Bad Batch is for kids too, but my goodness, they have not shied away from they've not shied away from anything that you would expect them to be able to cover. I mean, gosh, like troopers going AWOL, prisoners of war, PTSD, war profiteering. I mean, just they've not shied away from any of the deep themes that definitely happened in the Clone Wars, but they've really dove into them more. And then Crosshair literally shot that one person in the face, and it basically showed it. I was like, sweet, and Crosshair, I love that, Crosshair is obviously a villain, but they're showing that, his decision to leave the Batch, I don't think he's quite I don't know if he's going to come back to the Batch, because that would just be too easy, but he's really not loving the Empire right now. And one piece of lore they did bring back was the Monument of the First Battle, which was that big wall that you saw in Ahsoka's big arc. Clone Wars season 5, the end of it. That's a monument to the Battle of Geonosis and the troopers that died in it. And Crosshair and Cody's talk that happened in front of that wall was, I'm not gonna say Andor level writing, but that was like movie quality level writing right there in a cartoon show.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
wow.
love that.
And
I loved that scene was so good. Because I love how you could tell from that point on, like even that early in the episode, the way that Cody said, "Good soldiers follow orders." We've heard that said many times, and it always sounds a certain way, and you know how it sounds. But the way that Cody said it was immediately, "Good soldiers follow orders."
it's a little
like,
flippant, like sarcastic.
Like almost like he's definitely, you can tell like good soldiers follow orders, right? Like he's questioning it a little bit. And so you could tell right away something Cody was kind of dealing with stuff at the very least. He's definitely questioning things. And
I'm trying to pull the quote right now from that scene because I liked it so much.
Yeah. And another thing while you're pulling that up, something else that I've loved is that they're doing really cool stuff visually to tell us to like communicate certain things to us. Yes. And a really little thing, it sounds little, but something I really appreciate is that, you know, we've gotten into this, we're in season 2 now, and we're a little further along in the story, and the Batch and their armor is becoming more and more individualized, and each of them has more color, and each of them has more custom and like personality in their armor. Every single one of them looks different, and they've added to it as it goes on. And it's yes. Like, and you contrast that with, you remember in the Clone Wars, Cody has color on his armor, and he looks very distinguishable from other clones, because that's a lot of them did that. But now Cody, even his armor is it's the same armor, but it's black and white. He's conformed to the order, while the Bad Batch is free. And I just think just little things like that showing some real cool depth to the story. It's just really cool.
Show don't tell, right? Show don't tell.
Yeah.
Andor all over again.
All over.
The visual storytelling, the nuggets here and there, just the little glimpses of, you go back and you watch, like, wait a minute, like Cody, that's Cody, but it doesn't look like Cody, but it sounds like Cody. So here's that dialogue between him and Crosshair. Cody says, "Tell me something, Crosshair. This new empire, are we making the galaxy better?" And Crosshair answers, "We're soldiers. We do what needs to be done." I just want to do a little evil Crosshair voice. Soldiers. And then Cody answers back, "You know what makes us different from battle droids? We make our own decisions, our own choices, and we have to live with them. And we have to live with them too." Yes. That was huge, because to me, Cody is conveying a sense of regret for the things he's done. And we don't know what has happened with Cody between Order 66 and this portion of the Bad Batch, because we're still a year, maybe 2 into the formative years of the Empire right now. And Cody could have been through a lot during that time. And we especially know he was one of the first troopers to open fire in Order 66. Yeah. And you got to think that over time, whatever's maybe going on with his inhibitor chip, he's maybe starting to have these flashbacks and learn and see what's happening. Or maybe he has no regret for 4066 and he just hates the Empire because it's not like the Republic was. And I don't know. I'm just really, that was the best episode. I don't remember what all you asked me to relay, but episode 3 was definitely the general best thoughts so far. Yeah, I agree. Episode 3 might have been the best episode of the show yet. Like, it was that just good. About. Like, it's up there at the very least. It's up there. It's up there in animated, like Star Wars animation episodes for me. Like, I just thought there was so much in there to chew on, and it was, you know, I keep saying this show is so fun. It's just fun. But that episode was really not fun. It was like dark. It was dark, and there was a serious tone to it. And I do love when this show goes
more serious because it's really good at it.
Yes.
Whether it's the Camino episodes at the end or the beginning, both of those.
I'm two of those right now of the what War Mantle and all that stuff. The
Oh,
last three
War
episodes
Man-
of season 1.
War
I'm
Mantle.
to those episodes right now. Yeah.
That episode is amazing. I love that episode where they get Gregor, where they
Mhm.
rescue Gregor. It's so
Yes.
fun. It's such a
Yeah,
great
well,
episode.
and that's some deep lore callback too,
Right,
and
right,
some
yeah.
stuff that I think they're gonna go to at Indians season 2.
Yeah.
As far as like the cloning facilities and the commando troopers.
Cantus. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I'm really because that's some old EU stuff right there. Which is I had a conversation with a buddy of mine the other day. He's kind of returning back to really being deep into Star Wars, and he's not watched a
Welcome
lot
back.
of the new. He's not watched a lot of the new, any of like the shows and stuff like that. And he's really enjoying going into those. And he grew up reading. Me and him grew up like junior high, middle school together, reading a lot of EU stuff. And not all of it was great. Obviously, it was like a kind of a bag of Chex Mix. You want to pick out certain things, and there was no
A great
there
way
was
to
no,
describe
it was
that.
like
That's
it was
awesome.
like fan, half of it fan fiction, half of it was good, and some of it was like really, really good stuff. And they're just
Great
kind of cherry
description.
picking here and there. They're going, Dave's saying, here this was a wacky storyline, but this was cool. Let's grab this. Thrawn was pretty awesome. Let's go ahead and just bring him in.
Yeah.
That's obviously the best way to, because a lot of people were mad, including myself, when they were just like, oh, the EU's gone.
Right.
If they would have said the EU's gone, but we're just going to kind of implement it here and there, I think everybody would have been happy. But everybody wanted a reason to be angry. They wanted to be a Star Wars victim. They wanted to be
yeah, and to be fair, and I know I've talked to Curry about this a lot too, and I think I have some sympathy too for people who, dude, you're invested in something, and it's just you're just told, oh, by the way, that's canceled now. Like we're done with that, and it doesn't matter to canon anymore. Well, to be fair too, on the other side of things, it was never technically actually canon, but
it was canon to itself.
It was canon to itself, and it was canon to you because that's all that people had for years, right?
Yeah.
Between the original trilogy and the prequels, there wasn't Star Wars. You had the books. That was it. And so those people grabbed onto those things, and they had those in their mind. So I do have sympathy for people who were upset at that, but I also totally get and probably would have done the same thing Lucasfilm did, said, hey, we're starting our own new canon, and we're probably, they'll cherry pick things here and there, but overall, like, I think that it would have really, from my understanding, and I have not read much of the EU stuff, but my understanding is there's a lot of contradictory stuff in that. It would have been really hard to even do a through line with it.
There's like just a handful of novels that go together here and there, and then there's a lot of other, like, kind of like the TV shows like we get now. It's like they're related, but they're kind of wacky. And I got a little nostalgic thinking about that today, actually, because I went to Cersei to buy some new pizza ovens at a restaurant spot, and I drove past a bookstore that when me and my brother were kids, we bought a lot of Star Wars books and spent a lot of time there, including where I bought Tales from Jabba's Palace, which is sitting on the shelf over here. And I just remember
the source material, the Boba Fett source material,
the sacred text. But I just can't get over enough how much I love the Bad Batch. And
dude,
me and you, I think, really see eye to eye on it. It is just
we do. Yeah, it's so funny. It's like we just got done with Andor, and here I am. That first night comes, and I'm waiting at 2:00 in the morning. Like, okay, give me the fun stuff now. Like, I adore Andor. I said earlier in this live stream, Andor is my favorite Star Wars show yet. I think it is top notch in every way.
Yes.
Give me some fun silliness. Like, give me the wacky Star Wars now. I'm ready for it. And the Bad Batch is perfectly that.
Because it's wacky, and then all of a sudden it hits you out of nowhere.
Yep.
With like something super serious. And like, wait a minute. Oh.
And it does, and it continues the stuff that Andor did so well, which was it shows the Empire taking control, even like the process of taking control of different settlements and civilizations, and I love that they keep going into these, like, showing places that used to be separatist and are no longer the villains of the story, right? Because we always saw the separatists as the villains for a while because they weren't the Republic, but it's so cool seeing like that Raxus arc, or then that next. I really think my favorite episodes, sometimes depending on the day, sometimes my favorite episodes from season 1 is that Ryloth arc with Hauser, and which, by the way, I hope we surely we'll go back to Ryloth this season and see Hauser and see the Syndulas and stuff. I bet we'll go back, and I really hope so. But yeah, I love those, and just seeing the Empire and just them taking over and showing their true colors and people waking up to it. And like,
it didn't take people long either.
Nope, it didn't take people long at all. And people were like, wait, we just fought a war for this? And
episode 3 highlighted that really well, actually. Like, they figured it out real quick. The separatist leader was like, so-and-so was like, oh, they're sending an envoy to talk. No, shoot it down. That's an attack squadron. Like, no.
Yep.
They figured it out real quick.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and then right after episode 3, like a super serious episode, they come out of the gate with basically a pod racing episode. And how much fun was that?
It was fun. And Ben Schwartz, because I thought it was Topher Grace from that 70s show at first.
And I saw that. That sounds right.
And then I saw it was Ben Schwartz, and I said, oh my gosh, how perfect. And it was fun because I wanted it to be swoop bike racing from Knights of the Old Republic. And I was like, okay. I was like, disappointed it wasn't, but I was like, wait a minute, we got something even cooler. Like, and there's like 1,000 motorsports in the United States alone. Why wouldn't there be 10 million in Star Wars? So that was
why not?
Fun.
Yeah.
But the episode was great because it was tech centric, and tech is awesome. And everything with Omega is great, especially when it's Omega, Wrecker, and then someone else combined, because Omega and Wrecker are always like side by side and here funny, and then Tech's like the reluctant like father of the situation.
Right.
But what I loved about that episode was it was a very surprising little miniature character study for Sid. Because Sid was, I thought she was just going to be kind of like a kind of flexible side character, and she's really become a staple of the show. And us seeing her in a situation and that's twice Omega has stuck her neck out for Sid.
Yeah.
She did it when the Duran guy took over the Parliament, the Pike Syndicate. She was like, no, we need to help Sid. And then the big ugly dude was like, you don't know Sid, she's bad, she'll hurt you. And that's very possible, but it was cool to see a little
set up a little tension for the next little bit. We'll see where that leads. Like, who can we trust Sid? I like the tension set up there. That's cool.
Yes, in the middle of a silly pod racing episode with Ben Schwartz. I mean,
and
great.
I think my favorite part of the episode was, like, we've always seen. I think I posted something about this on our Facebook group. And by the way, anyone listening, if you're not in the Facebook group, join it. It's fun. A certain point of view discussion group. But I posted in there, I think, in our thread about this episode, that I love how, in the past, we've always talked about, and we've always seen Tech as a little bit more robotic. He's almost droid-like, the way that he is. Everything is a matter of fact. He doesn't really have opinions. He just states fact, right? Everything like that. That would be dirt. That episode where Omega is like, where she hears Hera talk about flying, and Omega says to Tech, "Did you know flying is a feeling?" And Tech is like, "A feeling?" Like, that's absurd, basically. And so, like, we've always had him in that role. And so it was really cool in this episode that, number one, great to have a tech-centric episode, period. But having this episode where we literally juxtapose him against a droid, and we actually see, no, Tech is not a droid. He is, even though he has these strengths and he's very savvy and he's very calculated and smart, he's still a person who actually who has a lot of value outside of that. And I think even in the first couple episodes, we saw some more of the human side of Tech. And I think this season is intentionally trying to show us more, like, no, Tech is not a droid. He's not R2 or C3PO or whatever. He's a human, even though sometimes we kind of view him as droid-like in a way. And so seeing this episode, you literally had him juxtaposed against an actual droid, who was Ben Schwartz. And
him and the droid argued. That was,
and they argued, and Tech was clearly the best. So I love that. That was such a cool idea, and I loved the execution of it. And again, such a fun episode. It was just fun. Like, Almost the whole
Wrecker
time.
walk around with snacks the whole time. He was
Of
constantly
course.
stuffing his face the entire
Of
episode.
course.
He either had a snack or a gun in his hand at all times, and that is just one of the best parts about Uncle Wrecker.
Martell mix
After every mission.
after every
So,
mission.
Holly is so she watched through the Clone Wars when they really liked it, and I'd watched the Bad Batch last year, and she'd kind of walk in and like, that's funny. And after we watched the Clone Wars, I thought, okay, I've really burned her out. That was a lot of Star Wars in a row. She's like, okay, I want to watch the Bad Batch. That show looks really good, and she really, really loves, I think, Tech and Wrecker and Omega the best, and as far as like their interactions, especially when Tech's always just so matter of fact, and then Wrecker's silly, and then Omega is just really kind-hearted, just a good little person. So yeah, we're just not about to watch the last 3 episodes of season 1, and they're going to be weighty, but man, it's I don't know, just like I said it before, and I'll say it again. Everything about the Bad Batch works for me. Just it is, it's like everything I love about the Clone Wars, just right there.
Yep.
Other than the Jedi stuff, it's absent, but it's
right.
It's okay.
It definitely takes all the funnest aspects of the Clone Wars and makes it just about clones. It makes it a lot about clones, but now we're seeing some of the best parts of the Clone Wars and transferred over into the beginning of the Empire, and such a cool, interesting time in Star Wars. And I think they do such a great job. I'm really excited to see what comes next. I don't know if this next one's going to be a banger. I don't know if it's going to be just a fun mission, but it's all gold as far as I'm concerned. I can't think of a thing. I think there's maybe one episode that I like the least, and I'm picturing it in my head as near the end of season 1, where they go into that pit of Gundarks.
It's these like bugs, like these big bug monsters.
I think this is the Gundarks.
That's the one
they're called, right?
No, they reference Gundarks at the first episode.
Okay. Maybe it's not Gundarks, but
I forgot what they called it. It was some sort of bug monster. That's the Pike Syndicate.
Yeah, and I thought that episode was just kind of. If I was to mention my least favorite episode of the show, it'd probably be that one. But it's still kind of fun. I really think I really like every single other episode, and I don't even really hate that one. It is fine.
So I'm trying to remember. I think there's a double release coming soon.
Yeah, there's
7 and 8's a double.
Yeah, 7 and 8, and so there's a few double releases. We've already had the first one, 7 and 8, and then the finale is 2-part, I believe.
Yeah. So yes, the first 2 were double. Then the second on the middle season on February 8th is double, and then the finale.
So 7 and 8. So we're on 5. So we just have a couple of weeks, and we got a double.
There's 16. So the season goes through March 29th.
Yep.
And so the next one is called Entombed, and then Tribe. The Clone Conspiracy doubles up with Truth and Consequences. The Crossing.
I have a feeling. I wonder if those are Cody centric.
I'm really thinking so. We got The Crossing, Retrieval, Metamorphosis, and then these are some ones I'm very excited to read the titles of: The Outpost, Pabu, Tipping Point, The Summit, which is going to be Tanis, and then Plan 99, which is like opposite of Order 66, I'm guessing. So through March 29, and I can't resist. And then I forget that we're going to get Gungi at one point too.
Yes, I'm so excited. That could be this week for all we know. I'm so excited.
It really could be. Like I said,
we're getting a month overlap of the Mandalorian and the Bad Batch. I hope you realize this.
Yes, we really are.
It's gonna be fun. All right, dude, we've gone almost 2.5 hours. I gotta go. I have not eaten dinner yet. I'm starving.
Mine's just starting to wear off. I gotta go find a snack.
But man, this was so much fun. We're gonna do it again. Yes. We're gonna do it again as soon as we can make it happen. I guess we should totally do it again before the Bad Batch is over for sure. Like I hope we do it at least like maybe a couple times during the Bad Batch,
especially if some more people cut up, maybe like reconvene at like the double episode mid-season release.
That'd be great. That'd be fun. I hope we can.
And then maybe at the end too, kind of like start
beginning, middle, end.
Beginning, middle. Yeah, that'd be perfect.
Trilogy,
the whole thing.
It's a great idea.
Yes.
But yeah, so I guess we'll probably drop this on our podcast feed. At least it'll be super raw. I'm not gonna go and edit this really, but guys, if you, so if you're still listening to the audio version of this, thank you. And why? I'm just kidding. No, but really, thank y'all for listening. Thank you for those who joined us live and participated in the chat. That's always super fun. And we're gonna do this again soon. And as always, may the force be with you. Always.